The calendar turns the page from July to August, and the stars of IndyCar know that the 2013 season is close to reaching a pinnacle. Tens of thousands of fans have gathered in the rolling hills of mid-Ohio, located between Cleveland and Columbus, knowing today's race could see a major shift in the road to the championship. Winner of 3 races in a row, Scott Dixon is second in points, and with 4 career victories here at Mid-Ohio, could claim 4 consecutive race wins here today. While Dixon has climbed, the defending series champion Ryan Hunter-Reay has fallen over the same period and hopes to turn his fortunes around today, starting from the pole position. Meanwhile, they both chased points leader Helio Castroneves, who will have to work his way through the field in order to keep the championship lead for the 9th straight race. Welcome to IndyCar Live, presented by Verizon, where we set the stage for today's 90-lap race. Hi folks, Lee Diffie with you here at Mid-Ohio, one of the most challenging road courses in North America for sure, and it's where the championship really intensifies. There's only 6 to go, and at this point of the season, strangely enough, not many people are talking about the points leader, Helio Castroneves. Instead, the 2 guys doing the chasing, Scott Dixon and Ryan Hunter-Reay, and both of those drivers share something in common. Take a look at this, because last year, on the way to a championship, Ryan Hunter-Reay had a 3-race win streak. Milwaukee, Iowa, Toronto, it vaulted him into the lead of the championship. We've just witnessed it this year with Scott Dixon. Pocono, and then that dynamic doubleheader win that gave him a bonus $100,000 at Toronto just 3 weeks ago. Dixon is now second in the title, just 29 points behind. And Marty Snyder, Scotty is on an incredible run.
Well, Lee, no doubt nobody's been hotter in the series than Scott Dixon, who's going for his 4th straight win, as you mentioned, at a track where he's won 4 times. Come up in a minute on IndyCar Live. I'll talk to Scott Dixon and ask him, is he more focused on the 4th straight win, or is he starting to focus on possibly his 3rd championship in the series as he closes in on that championship lead? Now, if Dixon is going to get that 4th straight win, he's going to have to go through the boys on the front row. For more on that, here's Jan Beekes.
Well, that's right, Marty, because the 2 people who start ahead of Scott Dixon both are trying to recover from disasters in Toronto. First, Ryan Hunter-Reay. He had a clutch problem followed by a crash in race number 2. Will Power led, but crashed out of both races in Toronto. The way you rebound, put it on the front row. They now sit together side by side. No better place to be in Mid-Ohio. Kevin?
Jan, we have 2 drivers making their IndyCar debut here today. One of them in this car, the latest in the Dale Coyne number 18, is James Davison, who's been working on this for 4 years since finishing as the runner-up in 2009 Firestone Indy Lights. And the other is Luca Filippi, who was a runner-up in GP2. He's in the number 98 Barracuda racing car. They've made a change. Results not where they like for that team. So Alex Tagliani out. Luca Filippi is in, and 2 drivers with a great opportunity. Looking forward to today, Lee.
Looking forward to watching them race, Kevin. And on the other end of the spectrum from those 2 first-timers, we have 2 first-time 3-race winners in the season this year, James Hinchcliffe and Scott Dixon. The point of difference between the 2, Dixon has his 3 race wins in consecutive races. Nobody has momentum like the Iceman right now.
IndyCar Racing returns to Pocono.
Here comes the battle for the race lead.
Now Kimball's got Dixon to his inside.
For the 30th time in his career, Scott Dixon gets the win. Kimball second. Franchitti completes the sweep, and the celebration begins.
This is the Honda 2 in Toronto. 2 passes in 2 laps. Scott Dixon on the move. That's the kind of drive that wins championships.
Brilliant stuff for Scott Dixon's team. They're back out.
This is going to be really close. Watch for Power on the right.
Scott Dixon will stay in front of Will Power.
Dixon gets back-to-back victories.
We are green.
For the first standing start in the IZOD IndyCar Series history. The Iceman, he is hot at the moment. This has just been a clinic. 3 wins in a row and a $100,000 bonus.
Second place in the points now. What a turnaround in a couple of weeks. I just hope we can keep it going here.
Dixon is the most successful active driver as far as wins. He has more wins here at Mid-Ohio than anyone, which means his name is above the likes of Fittipaldi, Andretti, Rahal and Unser, and he has won here at Mid-Ohio 4 of the last 6 years. It's time to hear from Mr. Mid-Ohio himself. Here's Scott Dixon with Marty.
As well, Scott, could you think of a better place to kind of close that gap a little bit than this racetrack?
Well, I think we could have maybe done without the 2 or 3 weeks off that we had, but yeah, we definitely had the ball rolling, and I think the switch for us was obviously Pocono. We've talked about it a lot, but a place that we went into and didn't think we really had a good shot at, but to come out with a win there, and then Toronto for me has always been a place I wanted to win. So to get a car that was great at a double header, you know, is pretty exciting to get 2 wins. So yeah, the championship's definitely turned around within a 3-week period. We were, what, 92 points out, 7th in the championship, 29 points out now in 2nd place behind Alio. So it's nice to be back at Mid-Ohio. It's a fun track. It's you know, unfortunately we don't have too many of these old school American road courses on our schedule, and hopefully we'll get a few more.
When you're on a roll like you're on, do you think about the 4th straight win, or do you start thinking about the championship with one eye?
You basically think about doing your best job. You can't rely on previous results we've had here at Mid-Ohio, and you can't rely on the last 3 races that we've had either. So every track's different. We got some tough competition this weekend. It was great to see all 3 Ganassi cars in the Firestone Fast 6. So excited about that, and it's nice to have teammates around you, especially when you come into the green. So you know, another podium sweep would go a long way here.
I tell you what, Jan, he starts 3rd today. The last time he started 3rd here at Mid-Ohio, he won.
Well, Marty, of course, Scott Dixon is closing in on this man, Helio Castroneves. We've talked about now the most races that you've led the championship. Are you starting to feel the pressure?
Well, pressure is always there, you know, but I have a great guys. The PPG guys are awesome, and we just got to keep going. We can't thinking about those Scott or Andretti guys, you know. You just got to keep doing our job. So far, the way we've been acting, the way we've been working, it brought us here, and we shouldn't change anything right now, so we should continue doing the same way.
Only starting 14th. Do you roll the dice today?
I have the best guy in the business, which is Mr. Penske, to roll the dice, and we're gonna try to do everything we can, and hopefully he knows what he's doing. Hopefully I know what I'm doing.
Well, we know you have fan support. He definitely, yes. They've been waiting for Helio, and he's gonna have to pull one out of the bag today. Lee?
Snapshot of the championship points after 13 rounds, and 6 different teams are represented in the top 10. 3 Andretti, 2 Ganassi, 2 Penske, Schmidt, KV and Coyne. But the most important thing right there is Castroneves leads by 29 points. The defending series champion, the 32-year-old from Florida, Ryan Hunter-Reay, came to this weekend never having a pole or a win at Mid-Ohio. He's changed one of those with the pole. He wants to change the other one right now.
Let me tell you about Will Power. Obviously, he's an incredible talent. He really pushes to the limit, which is great. Now his weakness, oh my Lord, that guy all over the place.
Yeah, it's not like as crazy as some people.
If you sneeze, just playing, oh my God, I think I'm sick. Start getting sick, really literally. I mean, the guy has some issues.
Yeah.
Last year, Will was staying some room number, end up 13. And I'm like, uh-oh, this is not happening. And it happened, you know? So I'm like, whoa.
Well, you know, I wasn't that superstitious.
As a team, I don't want it to be that it's going to go bad. But, you know, I want to win too. So, sorry, Will. It's 2013. Watch out.
Those guys have a lot of fun being teammates, but this is serious stuff now, and particularly serious for that man there, Will Power. At this same stage last year, he had 6 podiums, including 3 wins. This year, no wins and only 1 podium. And the defending series champion, Ryan Hunter-Reay, knows all too well just how quickly things can change in this championship. If we take a snapshot of his last 6 races, the first 3 were all podiums, including a win. The last 3 have been nothing but plagued with drama.
IndyCar Racing returns to Pocono.
The contact on pit road between Ryan Hunter-Reay and Takuma Sato.
I thought a plane crashed and hit me or something. I couldn't expect that it would be Sato. He was nowhere even near slowing the car down. Just unplugged his brain entirely, and he's playing a role in the championship again.
The DHL Chevy is on pit lane. Ryan Hunter-Reay.
He stalls it. No, but it's back again.
Ryan Hunter-Reay into the pits. Oh no!
This is the second time that's happened this race.
Ryan Hunter-Reay overshot it and banged it into the tire barrier.
Here we go to the end. Can they hang on?
Oh,
they cannot hang on.
Hunter-Reay and Will Power, big contact in the walls.
What a weekend this has been for Ryan Hunter-Reay. in this sport, and in any sport for that matter, it's all about momentum, and it is on Scott Dixon's side. The last time he had back-to-back wins was 2008, the very year he won his second championship. Well, he's gone one better with 3 wins, and look at the comparison to Hunter Ray, 20th, 18th, and 19th. Can he recover from that here today? Let's find out. He's standing by with Kevin.
Well, Lee, as documented, it has been a rough stretch for Ryan Hunter-Reay, but last year we got on a roll. This year Scott Dixon has it. Starting from the point today, what's the approach for this race, and as it applies to the championship moving forward?
Well, this would certainly be a good race to capitalize on a good starting position. I mean, the team worked really hard to give me the car I needed to go out there and put it on pole. Had a great day yesterday, had a lot of fun with the guys, kind of mixing up the strategy and qualifying a bit, but you know, today's where the real work starts. So we're going to go out there, just give it our all. Where the strategy takes us, we're not really sure yet. It kind of is dependent on where everybody else is, and we'll just kind of go from there. I mean, it's something that you know, I think you'll see a lot of different approaches today. So it should be an interesting race that way.
Maybe less strategy because of the extra 5 laps. That's good to be out front. It might be about pure speed today.
Maybe less strategy, maybe more. You know, you could work it either way. So all I know is that I have a great car. I've got a great team behind me, and we got that #1 DHL Chevy up front. We need to keep it there, and we've got you know, Will Power, Scott Dixon, teammate Marco Andretti chasing us. So it's going to be a tough day, but I think this is going to be a great race.
Good luck.
Thanks a lot.
Third pole for Ryan Hunter-Reay, looking for win number 3. Marty.
Well, Kevin, the other guy on the front row, Will Power, he will start second this afternoon. And yesterday, Will, you admitted to me you're out of the championship hunt. I guess, A, is it hard to admit? And then, B, how does that change the strategy for the rest of the year for you and your 12 team?
It's not hard to admit, it's just obvious. I mean, you know, we're well away now, so it's about winning races, you know, and obviously when we're in the position, helping Elio to win the championship. But I think today we've got the best chance to win a race. 2 of the toughest guys around me in the paddock with Hunter-Reay and Dixon, but man, I really want to get it right, and my guys deserve a win. I mean, I feel bad for them. They work so hard all year.
Does it change things up? Does it make you maybe more aggressive and more free to take chances to get a win today?
You know, the aggression thing sometimes bites you, so you know, it's just got to be a smart race. You know, it's tough to pass around here. A lot of the passing's done in the pits and on strategy, so you know, we're pretty conscious of that, and we're going to try to execute today.
And Lee, who would have imagined this late in the season Will Power would be looking for his first win of the year, but he told me, as he mentioned a moment ago, today is our best chance of the season to get that.
It's incredible, Marty, isn't it? He drives the Verizon Chevrolet, and you can get Verizon streaming. Simply download the IndyCar 13 app, call ** Indy, or search the App Store or Google Play, of course, only from Verizon. You know, Marco Andretti put his RC Cola car in the Firestone Fast 6 for the first time in 3 years on a road or street course yesterday. Wonder if he can convert that to a win today. Part of the attraction of Mid-Ohio is not the cars or the track, it's about the atmosphere. It's about camping out, it's about cooking out. This is a group called the Turn 10 Tavern. They've been coming here for over 20 years, and by the way, that's a bacon explosion. And we're positioned in front of a group called the Carousel Group. They've been coming here for over 40 years. There are a lot of loyal race fans here at Mid-Ohio. We've got some news to update you on because we've got quite the variety here for the 14th round of the championship, and let's update you because there has been some movement in the field. And headlining that is James Davison, is making his very first IndyCar career start. He has been somewhat of a journeyman. This is a massive day in his career. Oriol Servia is in the #4 Panther car for the 3rd time this year, replacing Ryan Briscoe, who we know from Toronto has a broken wrist. And then Luca Filippi replaces Alex Tagliani in the 98. We're unsure whether that's a permanent change, but it certainly is the case here today. With more news from the paddock, here's Robin Miller.
Thanks, Lee. Get out your pen and paper, and I'm going to talk fast because there's a lot to get to. Right behind me is the Panther car. That's one of the 3 coveted rides that are open for 2014. Panther, Brian Herta, and the 4th car at Chip Ganassi. Who are the candidates? Let's start with James Hinchcliffe. You're saying, James Hinchcliffe, he's having a breakout season for Andretti. He's won 3 races. Why would he leave? He's got GoDaddy. Well, because Target went to Canada. Hinchcliffe is a Canadian favorite, and good old Chip Ganassi said, I want that guy in my car. Hinchcliffe says, I only want to do that if I can take Dario Franchitti's place eventually. What about our boy Ryan Briscoe in the booth today? He's the coveted guy. Panther wants him. John Barnes talks him up all the time. Chip Ganassi would like him because he has a sponsor for that 4th car, and they love Ryan Briscoe. How about Indy 500 winner Tony Kanaan? Is he going to stay at KV Technology? Well, Jimmy Vasser's trying his best to make that happen. He's got 2 weeks to come up with more money, which he obviously knows Kanaan deserves. If he doesn't, then Kanaan might go to Panther, or Kanaan might go to Chip Ganassi Racing, or Kanaan might go to Brian Hurd, his old buddy, who knows? And then there's Oriole Survey, the guy that always gets left behind. He's filling in today at Panther. Guess what? John Barnes says, I haven't signed anybody yet. You're still on the list with Ryan Briscoe. Maybe I can run 2 cars. If Kanaan leaves, maybe he goes KV. Maybe not. Maybe he signs with Brian Herta. Last but not least, Joseph Newgarden. He's not a free agent. He's signed, and there's Takuma Sato. AJ Foyt says he wants to keep him. I hope you got all that, because I can't remember what I said.
Thank you, Robin. There's certainly plenty going on, isn't there? And IndyCar's loss this weekend is NBC-SN's gain. And what I'm talking about is Ryan Briscoe being in the announce booth with us this weekend because of that broken wrist. But Ryan's story is only one piece of a much larger puzzle.
Over the last few years, there's definitely been an increase in hand and wrist injuries. So the drivers asked IndyCar Safety to check into the numbers. Now those numbers were revealed by Dr. Terry Trammell at the drivers meeting in Toronto. 23 out of 25 drivers have received a hand or wrist injury since 2010. So you would think, well, is that because of the new car? Well, no, because you'll see they started to ramp up in 2010, 2011. The new car wasn't introduced until 2012. If you break it down by type of circuit, yes, there's more road and street courses on the schedule, and that is where most of the injuries take place because of side-to-side contact or bouncing over curbs. So let's take a look at it mechanically. Now, the steering effort on these cars is unbelievable. That's why the drivers use these molded hand grips to try and get the best grip they can because the steering effort is so high. But if you have high steering effort, it means you also have high steering kickback. Case in point, James Jakes bounces over the curbs in Toronto, so violent it knocks his hand off of the steering wheel, and watch when it hits the wall. A violent reaction from the steering wheel. Thankfully, his hands were off the wheel. Not the case for Ryan Briscoe. Same corner, much slower speed accident. He just tries to maneuver around Justin Wilson, says, I didn't think I had to take my hands off the wheel. They make wheel-to-wheel contact, and just that movement of the wheel breaks his wrist. So what is the cure? Well, plan A is to take the steel steering arms the teams have been using and allow them to use aluminum ones. This is much, much lighter than its steel counterpart and is 50% less stiff. The idea is you want to have something in the steering train, so to speak, that'll fail before it gets to the driver's hands. But you know, the ultimate cure, I think, is going to come from the actual steering effort itself. You've got to reduce the kind of steering effort that these cars take. So power steering most likely will be the answer. IndyCar asked Delar to check into it. It looks like between $8,000 and $16,000, these cars can be retrofitted with an electronic aided power steering. Now, because it's not a performance issue and now it's a safety one, to me, that money is going to be well spent for the future.
Great story, Jan. Thank you very much. When we come back, a real treat for you folks. The 2008 Mid-Ohio winner, Ryan Briscoe, joins the team.
Proudest moment, my platoon sergeant, we were overseas and we saved the guy's life, and getting to meet him and his family after we got back was, you know, it's a great moment knowing that you actually changed their life and the life of others around them by doing what your job is meant to do and save somebody's life. We serve overseas all the time. We don't do 1 week in a month. We're deployed constantly, and being able to see the representation of the National Guard and the presidents and everybody honoring us, it really shows a lot of appreciation to our sacrifices that we've made as individuals.
For the third time in recent years, we see the number 4 Panther machine in a pink paint scheme, and that is celebrating the key role females play in the military. And Major General Deborah Ashenhurst, the only female adjutant general in the country, is here today to cheer the Panther squad on. They even have pink walled Firestone tires as well. All right, changing gears, it is time for this week's GoPro course preview, and our Townsend Bell has made Wally Dallenbach go silent. David Hobbs pumped the fuel, scared the life out of Steve Matchett. Not sure there's a whole lot he can scare Ryan Briscoe with.
All right, Ryan, here we are at Mid-Ohio, one of my favorite racetracks in the world, really. I love this place. I've won a couple of Indy Lights races here, but I've never won an IndyCar race like my passenger today. Give me some secrets around here. Here we come into the keyhole.
Whoa, you got a break.
What makes Mid-Ohio really unique is the green flag comes here on the back straightaway. It's the only racetrack we go to where that happens.
Yeah, and now that we do double file restarts, all the restarts will be down here as well. And it's tough. I mean, it's a really long straight, so by the time we get down here, we're basically max speed, and you can run too wide. You'll see it on the start of the race. Everyone will be too wide through this whole section of about 5 or 6 corners, so it'll be a lot of fun to watch.
All right, let's see if we can catch this NSX here, man. We're gonna hustle it here. Not quite enough bite through there, man. That thing is on rails in front of us. See if we can get even close to the apex curve. I love this section right here. You come through under the bridge here, it's blind. You kind of aim for sort of a motorhome or a tree, and then come into a very tricky brake zone where you're braking on an angle, and you've got this step off at the exit. You see him go real sideways there. Yeah.
Everyone gets loose on the exit at 9. It's really one of the most difficult corners in all of tracks.
Now here's what can go wrong here sometimes. You turn in with some speed, get on the exit, and you can see where these guys have used a little bit of turf there as exit curbing.
Yeah, and this last corner is really tricky. It's a really long braking. There's a bump right there, and that always unsettles the car on the exit. We saw in practice a couple of cars drop wheels off here because they get unsettled through the bump.
Let's see if we can get the NSX through turn 1. Not a chance. Look at that thing go. Awesome track here at Mid-Ohio. I love this place. It's going to be awesome to watch the Indy cars.
Townsend Bell loves those GoPro course previews, and there was a more detailed look at the track they call America's most competitive, the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. And as we teased you with a little bit earlier, it's time now to welcome Ryan Briscoe to the NBC SN team. Terrific to have you with Townsend and myself, mate, for today. But first and most importantly, how is the wrist doing?
It's feeling great. It's amazing. Every day it's getting stronger. I've got a little battle scar here, but feeling strong and really excited about coming back for Sonoma at the next race.
I know it's a little different for you to be an observer of an IZOD IndyCar Series race. So what's your observations this weekend? What's taken your attention?
It's been a crazy week, There was the test day on Wednesday, so everyone's had plenty of laps, but we saw during practice sessions lots of cars going off the track. Will Power had 4 or 5 excursions off the track, a couple of big ones, including this one in turn 1. It looked like he almost flipped even in the gravel trap. And then Charlie Kimball backed it in the wall hard, had to go to the backup car for qualifying. Luca Filippi went off in qualifying, really unfortunate because he would have advanced otherwise. He lost his 2 best laps with that accident, causing a red flag. And also some aggro between teammates here with Vizo and Hunter Ray. I think Ryan was a bit upset with getting held up by Vizo when he was coming out of the pits, but I think it all got resolved.
There's certainly been a lot of tension this weekend, uncharacteristically, between teammates and just other team drivers, Townsend. And speaking of teams, doesn't seem that long ago, mate, that we were saying 2 of the 3 super teams, meaning Penske and Ganassi, were winless. Elio Castro-Neves changed all of that at Texas, but now it's this Ganassi steamroller, isn't it?
Well, at the start of the year, we suggested that this would be a season full of surprises, but perhaps the biggest shocker has been the disastrous start of the year from the Target Chip Ganassi team. However, the issues were setup related. The drivers were struggling to come to grips with the balance of the car and find the pace on track. Right around mid-season at Detroit, things started to turn. Then at Pocono, Scott Dixon nailed a convincing victory and then led on to follow-up victories at Toronto, winning both at the doubleheader. The question now is, who can slow down this snowball of momentum?
Thanks for watching IndyCar Live on the NBC Sports Network, presented by Verizon. When we come back, it's time to give the command, and we have got a wild Grand Marshal. You'll see what I mean when we come back. They call Scott Dixon the Iceman. Some say it's because the New Zealand native is quiet and reserved. Others claim it's his cool and calm demeanor on the track. Regardless, the Iceman has arrived at the peak of summer and put a freeze on the rest of the IndyCar field, winning 3 races in a row and putting himself back in the championship hunt.
He has made up 63 points on the championship leader, Elio Castro-Neves.
In the same summer span, Ryan Hunter-Reay has been ice cold, falling in the standings while Dixon climbs.
We hang on, and then, we got taken out again.
And the driver who carries the #1 on his car as defending series champion, Hunter-Reay needs the climate of his season to change to stay within reach of the title.
Every time you look at the car, you see the #1 on there. You're thinking we've got to live up to that.
They both chase points leader Elio Castro-Neves. No streaks for the Brazilian this season, just a consistent run with few mistakes. So while the Iceman tries to extend his charge and the defending champion hopes to return to form, the points leader tries to maintain his own brand of cool on the rolling hills of Mid-Ohio.
Awesome job, buddy. I love you guys.
After a 3-week break, the IZOD IndyCar Series roars back to life at one of America's classic road race courses. This is the Honda Indy 200. It's round 14 of the championship for 2013, and we have got a championship that's alive. Time now for some important words.
Mid-Ohio race fans, are you ready? It's time for those most famous words in all of sports. From the Columbus Zoo, welcome Jungle Jack Hanna to give the command.
Drivers, start your engines!
And do it now or I'll come and wrestle you. Great to have Jack Hanna here, who was also the godfather of one of the competitors in today's field, Graham Rahal. Jack and his family have been friends with the Rahal family for some 30 years. And so it's terrific to have he and his family at the track today. All right, it's time to check in one last time before we get going with the boys on pit road. Let's start with Marty Snyder. Marty?
Well, Lee, our championship leader, Elio Castroneves, starts 14th today. 3 times this season, he started 12th or worse. In 2 of those 3 races, he finished in the top 5. So Elio knows his way from the back to the front. But today, the championship lead could hang in the balance. Can Elio Castroneves pass enough cars to hang on to that 29-point lead over Scott Dixon? That's going to be fun to watch, Kevin.
Marty, we've talked a lot about Ganassi's dominance. 8 wins here, more than anybody else. We mainly think about Franchitti and Dixon, but don't count out this guy right here. Charlie Kimball has equaled his best career start. He's rolling off 5th today. He's been knocking on the door. 4th at Barbara, a runner-up at Pocono. Can he get one more step up the ladder today? Jan.
And Kevin, Simona Di Silvestro starts 9th, and she says she has renewed confidence after a bit of a slump. Amazingly, when you look at the timing charts today, she's been one of the fastest at the end of the straightaway. That may be a key, the best place to pass, and she has big-time speed. Robin?
Jan, Tony Kanaan, the Indy 500 winner, is the king of overtaking. Well, he's going to need a lot of talent today. He starts 19th, hadn't had a good car, and what he does not want to see is a repeat of last year's race. No cautions. This race was yellow-free last year. Well, I can tell you this, based on this week of testing and practice and all the chippiness we've seen from the drivers, there ain't going to be no all-green race this time. There's going to be a lot of crashing. There's going to be a lot of people being pulled out of the sand trap. That's my prediction.
Well, it's certainly what we've seen so far this weekend, Robin. I think you're spot on. And you talk to the drivers, they tell you just how difficult it is to make up ground here. So is our current Indy 500 champion Tony Kanaan in for a really tough day at the office? Well, let's take a closer look at this track. Here's Townsend to talk us through the finer details of Mid-Ohio.
Well, Lee, one of our country's best racetracks, Mid-Ohio boasts 13 corners that are totally unique in the world of racing. This place defines the phrase natural terrain road course. There are 2 key passing areas. The entry to turn 2, also known as the keyhole, and at the end of the long back straight entering turn 4. But to lay down a fast lap at Mid-Ohio, you have to nail turn 1, a very fast, nearly flat out corner. This track demands finesse, endurance, and respect.
It most certainly does, and that's why we see terrific racing. We also see the IZOD 2-seater. Now, you can get in on Honda's fastest seat in sports sweepstakes by logging on to shophonda.com, and you could be sitting where Ross Ellison from Ocala, Florida is right now, behind the legend Mario Andretti. Hi, Ross. It's Lee Diffie in the NBC Sports booth. What did Mario tell you before your ride?
He said, don't worry about a thing, just enjoy the ride.
And are you?
And I'm enjoying it.
All right. It sounds like it's taken your breath away, Ross. We'll leave you to it and enjoy the ride behind Mario Andretti. And by logging on to shophonda.com, Ross won the opportunity to start today's race in the IZOD 2-seater, as we just saw. And we thank Mario Andretti for doing a fabulous job as well. So here they are, warming up the tyres. They'll do 2, maybe 3 laps before we see the green, and the time will start when they cross the finish line. However, typical and traditional here at Mid-Ohio, they will not start until down the back straight, heading through turn 3 on the way to turn 4. Here's a snapshot of the grid. Ryan Hunter-Reay, 5th career pole alongside Will Power Townsend, who is desperate for a victory.
Good run for him. Marco Andretti having a very strong qualifying, making the top 6 for the first time in a few years.
Let's take it back to row 3, Ryan. Sitting there, let's have a look. Charlie Kimball, Dario Franchitti, teammates.
Yeah, 2 more Ganassi cars in the top 6. They've just been strong all weekend, and Kimball even going to the backup car very fast.
For me, these 2 guys are the quiet achievers of the weekend. Look out for Wilson and Pagenaud.
No question. Going back, another strong qualifying performance. Haven't seen that for a while out of Simona, our early season superstar. James Jakes with a great top 10 qualifying start.
And it's his 26th birthday today, so we
birthday.
wish him a happy birthday and wish him a good race. Hinchcliffe was a little bit miffed, Ryan, that he just missed out on progressing and advancing to the next phase of qualifying.
Oh, just a product of the lap times being so close in qualifying. I think there are so many drivers in the grid saying if I was just 1/10 faster, I would have progressed.
And that was the story of the weekend. How about Sebastian Bourdais coming off back-to-back podiums in Toronto? He's got his hands full here with a challenge with the points leader.
Absolutely. Moving on back to row 8, Takuma Sato, you know, our championship leader after Long Beach, has really fallen down the run. He's starting today on row 8, and then James Davison out of Australia. Pretty impressive first weekend for this young guy. He's been working for years to make this happen.
All right, Ryan, give us the keys and the secret to success. You won here in 2008. You know how to manage this field and this racetrack. What are we looking for today? What are the keys?
Well, I mean, obviously starting at the front is big, but depending on how the yellows fall, it could become a fuel mileage race. It's going to be close between 2 stops or 3 stops. But on the start and restart, aggression is going to be big. I think one of the guys to watch is going to be Castro Neves, being very aggressive on the start, trying to make up as many spots as he can early on.
All right, let's take you and show you some different views because we've got some onboards throughout this field. And we start with Graham Rahal. This is what the battery tender onboard camera looks like, and we'll be riding with Graham. This is a massive weekend for he and his dad, Bobby, and the Rahal family. This is their home track, so it's a big day. The man who is taking Ryan Briscoe's seat in the Panther number 4, the National Guard car, is Oriol Servia, and this is the National Guard onboard camera. That's what it looks like for the Spaniard. He's pleased to be back in the seat. The birthday boy, James Jakes, has the Acorn stair lifts on board, and this is the view we'll see from him and many others. Some multiple views aboard the second Rahal entry. And then Dario Franchitti, the 4-time series champion in the number 10 target car. He has the Verizon streaming. And remember, we told you about it a little earlier in the show, download the IndyCar 13 app by calling ** Indy or search the App Store or Google Play only from Verizon. We'll see what kind of a day Dario has after some frustration in Toronto. The man on the move, and he is Mr. Mid-Ohio. Scott Dixon gives us the Verizon view on board the number 9 target car. And then our final onboard camera in the race is brought to you by Chevy, and it is the Verizon Chevrolet of Will Power. So he told me this morning he needs to win, he wants to win, he has to win. Will it be his day? The race has technically started time-wise, but it's about to begin for real now when Ryan Hunter-Reay and Will Power see the green. Here we go, the Honda Indy 200 at Mid-Ohio is underway. They stretch their legs for the first time down to turn 4. Look at Charlie Kimball on the inside and aggressive.
Half back.
Franchitti around the outside. Kimball, the teammates are side by side into 5.
Looking pretty clean so far through the first 2 corners.
And that's good. Good work. Respectful driving, no clumsy collisions, and they're racing hard on the opening lap.
Don't forget, last year we went caution-free the entire time, which is impossible to believe. I'd be blown away if it happens again this year. Look at the guys getting loose, Ryan, coming off of turn 9.
Yeah, still very cold tyres and surprising, you know, not even a wheel off so far this lap. So everyone giving each other a lot of respect, and maybe thinking back to all the offs in practice, people they're all sort of getting their heads in line.
End of the first flying lap. Ryan Hunter-Reay, Will Power, Scott Dixon. There's James Hinchcliffe working on James Jakes. And look all the way back at the end of the field, that bright blue Barracuda Networks car of Luca Filippi. He'll be desperate to make up positions because he set a time good enough to be in the Firestone Fast 6 and progress. But he couldn't. He's on the inside here of Rahal. There is the 27-year-old Italian, aggressive early on.
He was looking to the outside, but then Graham shot to the outside to take away the braking zone, and Filippi discovered how much grip is on the inside racing line of the keyhole.
So close.
He had never driven an Indy car until this Wednesday, and in just the second practice session was 5th quickest. He wants to make a name for himself here in the United States. He almost won the GP2 championship 2 years ago in Europe. He's a very skilled driver.
Unfortunately, he's realizing the penalty for that mistake in qualifying, going off, causing the red flag, losing his quickest laps. It is so tough to get through the field here.
Oriol Servia in the Panther National Guard car has made 3 places early on. Good start.
Yeah, definitely moving forward. He said he's got a great car. He made a little mistake in the key hole in qualifying, but he said he's got a good car.
Tell us more, Kevin.
Yeah, we talked to Oriol this morning, and he talked about what you just mentioned, Ryan, that they went too far on the downforce this morning. He was never happier with the car yesterday. He just made a little bit of mistake in qualifying.
And again, the pink paint scheme is celebrating the key role that females play in the military. The National Guard car, that's the 3rd time we saw it at Kentucky a couple of years ago and here at Mid-Ohio here last year. Charlie Kimball is on the attack.
Marco Andretti showing the inside block move, does a little fade back to the outside, but Charlie able to stay side by side, has the advantage at the next corner. Great pass.
Great move. Marco looked a little conservative there, which was surprising.
Remember how the weekend started for Charlie Kimball in that Novo Nordisk car. It started in dramatic style, spectacular style, but negative style, where he smashed heavily at turn 1.
Don't forget, guys, Marco Andretti, one of the few cars in the top 8 the only car in the top 8 to start on the primary black tires. The other guys all on reds. We're seeing the advantage of that softer compound here in the first few laps.
Good solid start from Justin Wilson. Look for the Boy Scouts of America car. There it is there, the 3rd one in shot, the blue and yellow machine. This is the track where he broke his back 2 years ago, but he loves this place. He really enjoys the challenge of Mid-Ohio and has been running well this weekend.
Marco currently under attack now from Dario Franchitti, and don't forget, one of the storylines of this race is going to be fuel economy. Marco Andretti in a Chevy, Dario in a Honda. I wonder if Marco's already leaning out fuel to try to stretch those runs. So far, no yellows.
Hey, don't forget, Townsend, he's on the black. So we're seeing right now, as you watch on board with Dario, this is black versus red. The red should be faster, and it is for Dario.
Down the inside, Franchitti makes that move fairly clinically. No worries there, so now it's Hunter Ray, Power, Dixon, Kimball, Franchitti, Andretti back to 6th.
Yeah, definitely the black tyres hurting Andretti. I think we saw in qualifying there was maybe a 1 second difference in lap time. So I think interesting to follow will be the consistency, if the red tyres are going to hold on or if the blacks are just going to keep going backwards.
Well, at Toronto, which is a different tire, but at Toronto we saw about a 12 to 14 lap window, and that's when the crossover took place, when the black tires consistency started to carry over into an advantage over the reds.
So we're up and running at Mid-Ohio for the Honda Indy 200, and the man who won last year's championship leads this race. Hunter Ray told us earlier this weekend, I am on maximum attack, I must win. The DHL Andretti Autosport Chevy, driven by Ryan Hunter Ray, leads by almost 1.5 seconds over Will Power. Running high where he needs to be to try and grab more points and try and get his first victory of the year, Will Power. This is Graham Rahal, and this is what the battery tender onboard shows us. Check this out. Good hard racing with Joseph Newgarden. Newgarden goes to the inside to defend.
Now that might have looked like a block, but that's actually the racing line here at Mid-Ohio as you apex that kink, and whoa, he did not give him any favors in return at the apex of turn 4.
Midas machine on the move, and now Graham Rahal is working on Luca Filippi. Filippi had made up the most positions in the field. He's made up 3 already, and now Graham wants to reduce that. He wants that position back where he got Newgarden on the previous lap.
And he will get it if he maintains position in this corner, which he got, but Filippi is still there. Not a lot of grip outside, and he can't hang on.
Nice work from Graham Rahal. That's good forceful driving. He knows this track so well from in the junior categories that he drove in, and just by coming here for so many years as a kid. Let's check in with Marty.
Well, as we go through the field lead, we'll start with the guy up front, Ryan Hunter Ray. And the last time we were at a natural road course was Barber Motorsports Park earlier this year. That day, Ryan Hunter Ray started on the pole, led the most laps, won the race. Today, started on the pole and has led every lap so far. Now, they're giving him fuel numbers, which may mean they're going to try a 2-strap strategy today, but they'll need 11 laps of caution to pull that off. In second position, behind him, Will Power. He told me going into Toronto, we honestly thought we still had a shot at the championship. I had to relax over the couple weeks off and try and get that out of my mind, just focusing on race wins right now. Behind him, Scott Dixon started third, running third. He said, I've never really been comfortable this weekend, although he's obviously very good at Mid-Ohio. Still searching for a little bit here this weekend, Jan.
And of course his teammate, Charlie Kimball, right behind. We've talked about his big crash that he had in turn number 1. Remember, he is driving a spare car. They switched the cars. Look at him close in on Scott Dixon. Amazing by the Ganassi crew how quickly they changed that car over.
And Jan Dario Franchitti back there in the fifth position rather, hanging in right there. The car a little bit too tight. He just radioed into the crew. They said they heard his transmission. You know, Ganassi has won 4 straight races here. Dario would like to add to that number and make it 5 straight, Jan.
And Justin Wilson did not have his practice sessions go the way that he wanted. They actually had an electrical issue that caused a fuel pressure problem. He missed much of the practice, but now says the car is better. Right behind him is Simona Di Silvestro. We mentioned that right here on this section of the racetrack, there's a speed trap, and when you see the practice speeds, she was amongst the fastest. They're running a little bit lower on wing. Expect that'll help her for passing later.
Marco Andretti has dropped 4 spots back in 8, but keep in mind, as mentioned, he's the only one of the front runners right now in the primary harder black tires, so that's to be expected. Kyle Moyer was reminding him of that we're still in a good position right now. Jan?
Simon Pagenaud has said, believe it or not, I think this is the best car that we have had the entire season. He's not necessarily showing it now, but he thinks when he drives 99%, he loves the car. Now watch James Hinchcliffe, because over my shoulder, it looks like they have set out for an early pit stop. So he may, unless they're trying to fake people out, he may decide to hit pit road. So he is going to take advantage of this, and this is what we've talked about. Mid-Ohio is a place that is difficult to pass, so you roll the dice. He has a sticker set of red sidewall Bridgestones that he's going for, and they're going to try some fuel strategy. I would imagine they may have started with this car light. Now he has a sticker set.
So he's pitting there on lap 9, Lee, which leads me to believe that Chevys think they can do about 26, 27 laps on a stint, assuming this would go green the whole time. We'll see what he gets with red tires and a clean track for lap time.
A lot of talk about what can happen fuel economy-wise. The Hondas versus the Chevrolets, the 2 engine manufacturers in this championship. Sebastian Saavedra on the inside of Tony Kanaan. And that is a key overtaking point here at Mid-Ohio down into turn 4.
Yeah, turn 4, one of the best passing zones on the track, really the best. And that's where we've seen all the moves today so far. And pretty cool to see Saavedra being aggressive on Kanaan there.
And he's motivated. He's been buoyed. Whoa! Serbia loses it and then catches it.
Out at turn 9 there. The car always gets a bit loose, but he's lucky not to spin that thing all the way around.
Down into Thunder Valley. That is a high-speed section of this track, and Oriol Servia's catching the car and catching his breath.
Absolutely. You see Tristan Vautier peels off the first of the Hondas, I think, to make a pit stop. Servia's got to clean it up here and try to keep that thing in line.
Tristan Vautier qualified 11th, but he had to start back in 21st because of an engine change. In the warm-up today, his car caught fire, and he actually lost throttle control and had to scoot it into the tires a little bit to get stopped. So they changed the engine, and Vautier has already picked up 2 spots before this early stop.
And remember that Tristan Vautier is a Firestone Indy Lights champion, but he's never raced here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course until last weekend when he raced a Van Diemen F1600 Honda-powered car. This is what happened to Oriol.
Just a little bit of wheel spin there. The car gets really light, negative G. Wheel spin leads to getting loose, and man, I'll bet he's surprised he hung on to that. That's about as close as it gets.
Now you could just hear the engine spinning. That's a good save.
Good save, and all the while he was catching it, he's looking in the left-hand mirror, seeing where the other cars, where his peers were coming. So that was a lucky escape for the National Guard number 4 of Oriol Servia. You have not missed anything up front. It's still Hunter Ray, Power, Dixon, Kimball, and Franchitti. However, the Ganassi trio are getting closer to each other. 29th year of IndyCar at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, and what a day we've got to go racing. It's a little cooler today than what it was yesterday. Nice breeze blowing, giving the teams and drivers some respite, and nothing has changed while we're in the break. Ryan Hunter-Ray 1.6 seconds out in front from Power, Dixon, Kimball, Franchitti, Wilson. Simona Di Silvestro is 7th, Marco Andretti, Pagenaud and Bourdais. And look at this.
Yeah, Lee, I've been watching Marco Andretti slide back a little bit through the field, but as we talked about earlier, he started on the black tires. Most of his competitors around him on reds. You see Charlie Kimball going around the outside of turn 4. Dario Franchitti on the inside of turn 4. Here's Justin Wilson up the inside again. the lap times have started to stabilize, so perhaps we're getting close to that window where the compromise he had given up in the beginning is starting to come back to him. Man, but Pagano got around him there, and Bourdais is all over the back of Marco Andretti.
And Pagano there, he's on the same tyre as Marco, so Marco clearly struggling a bit with the setup of his car.
Is he struggling, or is he running to a number? Is he trying to conserve fuel? What's he doing?
Watching Pagano blow by there, it was the first thing I thought was that they must be running a very, very lean fuel strategy, but all of us talked about it. Seems like there's going to have to be some yellow for them to get all the way through on 2 stops.
Marco was pleased with his qualifying performance yesterday by making the Firestone Fast 6, but was a little frustrated that he didn't do better. He said, I had more in the RC Cola car.
Red. Sebastian's on red.
That's the voice of Kyle Moyer just painting the picture for Marco Andretti from the Andretti Autosport pit box.
I'm realizing that our comments reflect how much improvement Marco's had, Kevin.
Pit on this lap, please.
That's Kyle Moyer talking to Marco Andretti, and this you're seeing is Oriol Servia. This is a challenging pit location. He thinks this is the toughest. It's coming uphill, and it makes it very difficult to launch. Jan?
Takuma Sato is also taking advantage of some early pit strategy. Of course, this is a Honda power plant, so this isn't necessarily about mileage. It's about hoping for a yellow and hoping you can pick up track position.
Huge day for the ABC Supply Company, who sponsor AJ Foyt Racing. They've got over 700 guests here cheering Takuma Sato on, hoping he can do well. But at the beginning of the race, it all went backwards for Sato, who dropped into the low 20s. So I'm not quite sure what happened in the opening stanza of his race. He needs to try and turn it around. It's all sunshine on the DHL Chevy for Ryan Hunter-Reay. Nobody has led this race other than the 32-year-old from Florida. Here's Andretti.
Wide open here. 3, 2,
Marco has been looking forward to getting off of these black tires. They're going to scuffed reds on this one. Andretti on lap 16 makes his first start, went from 4th to 8th, and he's going to hope to find some open track position and pick up some time here, Marty.
Kevin, your championship leader did not make the progress that they would have liked. They're going to take off stuff reds, put on sticker reds for Helio Castroneves. They'll have to have primary tires for this final run. When they do make another stop, they blend in behind Marco Andretti, but Helio Castroneves not making the progress he wanted, Lee.
And Luca Filippi made a stop in the Brian Herter Autosport Barracuda Networks car. You hear the guys talking about black and red tires. The red wall tires are the softer compound and the black are the harder. You must run both compounds of tire at least once to conform to IZOD IndyCar Series rules. It's looking smooth out front for this man, though.
It is looking so smooth. There's absolutely no evidence that Ryan is slowing down at all. He's in the low 108s consistently. The car looks really balanced. I really don't see any issues at all with the reds at this point.
No, he's looking good. An interesting stat, Lee, I'm not sure if you know about. Last time he led a race, he won, and that was in Milwaukee. So things are looking good for him.
And when you look at the scope of his championship, it's feast or famine for Ryan Hunter-Reay. At the moment, he's chowing down. It has been a fixture on the road race calendar in North America for many, many years. Mid-Ohio was opened in '62. Some 20 years later was purchased by renowned road racer and the founder of Red Roof Inns, Jim Truman. And there has been so much history created at this legendary circuit. And nobody has more IndyCar wins at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course than the red car running third, Scott Dixon. Let's check in with Jan. Jan?
Yeah, but he was getting a lot of heat from behind from this man, Charlie Kimball. And we kind of said during the break, we didn't have a thought that he was saving fuel. It looked like he was really pushing behind Scott Dixon. And this would be the answer now that he's gone for the reds. Nice quick stop. It's not going to be as long. When you see 7.3, that's because they haven't necessarily emptied everything out. They're doing this again for track position.
Got Rio coming by you now.
Ryan, talk about that coaching from the radio, from the pit box. How important is that to you? How much do you enjoy having all of that information and the picture painted for you?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, the consistency is the most important thing. And some drivers like the countdown. I've always sort of been used to a countdown, but as long as it's the same every time, it's just sort of all about the rhythm of hitting your marks and having a clean stop.
So much fun to ride along with Will Power in second, trying to track down Ryan Hunter-Reay. His car has way too much oversteer. That rear end sliding around every corner. They've asked him to work with a front bar on the car, trying to make it last as long as they can. The interesting thing that is developing, Lee, I think these front guys might be trying to make it on 2 stops. Now the Chevys, from what I'm told, will need about 11 laps of caution to make that happen. But all the communication, both with Will Power and Ryan Hunter-Reay, is about their fuel number, about how much fuel they're using, and Michael Andretti coaching Ryan Hunter-Reay. That's a good lap. That's not a good lap. Give me a little bit more. So that seems to me to indicate they may be trying to make a fuel play and make this on 2 stops.
And it's 2 Chevrolet-powered cars in 1 and 2. The first Honda is Scott Dixon in 3. The Honda guys are feeling a lot more confident about their mileage than that.
I think that with the fuel mileage thing, it's not so much at this point making it on 2 stops so much as just getting that extra lap in this stint. I mean, I think they're all going to need a caution to make
being the last one to stop.
But if you can go 1 lap further than your opposition, then you have an extra lap on hot tires, and that's track position during the pit stops.
You're listening to the voice of Ryan Briscoe, the 2008 winner of the Mid-Ohio IndyCar race. He is out recovering from a broken wrist, but will be back at Sonoma at the next round of the championship.
Now for Justin Wilson, he had exactly what he wanted in this morning's warm-up. They made a change that was the wrong way. He said, the reason that was good, I came back and said, no guys, that's definitely the wrong way. They stepped the other direction and they bracketed the way he wants his car to handle. And Ryan, you know how that goes. Sometimes you're always searching, and sometimes a wrong choice on a setup actually heads you in the right direction.
Yeah, it's you know, trial and error, and sometimes it takes those mistakes to learn something and go the other way.
One of the things I'm watching here, guys, is the lap times have started to fall a little bit now. So Hunter-Reay 109.2, Will Power 109.0. Those red tires starting to slow down ever so slightly, but the guy that I'm watching, Bourdais and Pagenaud, just in front of them, these guys are charging up. That gap is closing, but can they get by if they catch the pack?
And a year ago here at Mid-Ohio, Sebastian Bourdais got his best result of the 2012 season when he finished 4th. The Dragon guys are riding high on momentum at the moment. Jay Penske and his crew are pumped about that double podium in Toronto. There's EJ Viso coming through shot. Let's check in with Robin Miller.
Hey Lee, at the press conference yesterday, Ryan Hunter-Reay says, I think it's going to take 3 pit stops, and Scott Dixon looked over at him and raised his eyebrow with a little grin and said, maybe for you, amigo, but I'm in a Honda. And I was at the famous Honda Pocono slaughter when Chevrolet... Okay, Kevin, take this pit stop away, brother.
Yeah, here's Graham Rahal making his first stop. He did not get any testing time on Wednesday. He said they've been trying to catch up all weekend, but he thinks they finally made some good strides this weekend. But so far, he's not been able to pick up a lot of space except for people coming in. Also, Sebastian Saavedra, there he is, getting back out on track. He pitted from 12th position.
And Luca Filippi going through shot there, and Graham Rahal can resume their battle. That was pretty entertaining a little earlier in the race.
Let's go, baby.
So meanwhile, up front, it's as close as it's been. Will Power is within 0.8 of a second of this man here, Ryan Hunter-Reay.
He is lead, but the top 8 are within 4 seconds of each other. If this stays green, Ryan, the out laps, the in laps, and the pit stops are everything.
It's going to be huge, and it's a tough pit lane here. I mean, we've talked about the hill, and if there are mistakes on pit road, they seem to happen here, so it's going to be key to watch that.
Fuel 3, 2, 1.
After Sebastian Bourdais gets counted into his pit box, one of the things that he's been finding over the weekend, the car has been wicked loose. They've been trying all weekend to try to settle that down, and they go to the front wing. Wow, look at all that front wing they do for Sebastian Bourdais. That is a big, big change.
That looked like 2 turns of front wing that they just put into his wing, so he must have been battling a bit of understeer and just trying to make the front hook a bit better.
Is it also that when they're going to blacks that they have to compensate aero-wise? Because I always hear that when they throw the reds on, you pick up a ton of rear grip, so it could be they make a balance adjustment as well, going from reds to blacks.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It looked like they added front wing, though, so that'll be interesting to see.
We're fast approaching 3rd race distance of this 90-lap race. We've gone 5 laps longer than last year. So last year was an 85 lap, and 90 laps here today. And this is going to be fascinating. Who blinks first? Is it going to be Hunter-Reay? Will it be Power? How far can Scott Dixon, Mr. Mid-Ohio, go? All those questions answered when we come back. Great to have you with us on our live coverage of round 14 of the IZOD IndyCar Series Championship. This is the Honda Indy 200. Lee Diffie, Townsend Bell. Our special guest, Ryan Briscoe. Marty Snyder's back with the gang. Kevin Lee and Jan Beekes. Jan?
We're keeping an eye on Justin Wilson. He rolls into the spot. A few moments ago, we saw a very nice stop for Simon Pagenaud. You're seeing brand new black sticker tires going on. Nice stop for Justin Wilson.
Clear out, all the way out, You're all good. Go, go, go.
Again, lots of coaching from the pit lane. This is earlier than you want if you're going to make it 2 stops, but a nice run if you're going for 3.
We're on the front straight right now. Pagenaud's on the front straight.
Simon Pagenaud out of the box, out of turn 1. He's already made his stop. Can he get Justin Wilson up into the keyhole? Turn 2, no.
Critical for Wilson to hold the inside line here and get a smooth roll-on throttle application, but Pagenaud has so much grip by virtue of hot red tires, it's going to be tough to hold him off.
No chance.
Justin Wilson, for as accomplished as he is, Mid-Ohio has kind of tricked him a little bit. He has never achieved a top 10 at this track, and he is far too good a driver to have that on his record. These guys are going at it. These guys, including the championship points leader, car number 3, Helio Castroneves, is in 11th position at the moment. He started 14th. It's going to be a tough day. We always knew that for Helio when qualifying yesterday did not go his way. So the order at the moment, Hunter Ray with a 1.1 second lead over Will Power, Scott Dixon, Frank Keedy, Charlie Kimball. James Hinchcliffe is the first in that order who has stopped, and Hinchcliffe stopped way early. He stopped on lap 9.
Yeah, that was surprising. I really thought that if that was the case, that meant the fuel windows would be much shorter. I am absolutely shocked to see these guys so far at the front on fuel, like Hunter Ray, like Will Power.
It's kind of interesting. I think Hinchcliffe is about 20 seconds back from the leader. If the leader's pit now, Hinchcliffe will go to the lead. So, you know, this strategy could play off, could work out somehow.
Helio Castroneves right behind Simona Di Silvestro. She has also made her first pit stop in this race. And it does seem to be a turnaround for the Swiss driver. She's feeling pretty good about things this weekend after dazzling everybody at the season opener at St. Petersburg. She was in the top 10 for the first handful of rounds, and then she's kind of just dropped back a little bit as the season's gone on. This could be a turning point for her.
Well, Diff, you've talked about our championship leader, Helio Castroneves, right behind him. They've had some problems, but certainly gaining some track position. But up front, Ryan Hunter-Ray has reported a vibration in the car.
Push as hard as you can. Push as hard as you can.
You heard Michael Andretti on the radio right there saying, go as hard as you can now. Do not worry about the fuel. Go as hard as you can. They wanted to make it to lap 30, so they'll likely pit on this lap, but they also have a vibration that is getting much worse. You see Michael Andretti calling the shots on the left side of the screen. They were able to make it to lap 30. They may be able to split this thing into just 2 stops today.
Sometimes when you run these tires deep into their life, Ryan, you can pick up an imbalance. What could be the problem there?
Sometimes it's just from a little flat spot. You know, you might lock a front tire slightly, and that's more likely to happen as the tires get old, and then you'll get that vibration. But staying out one more lap, look at that. So they just must know that you know, saving fuel doesn't make any sense for their pit window, and they're going to probably pit next lap.
This is the fight for 8th place. Justin Wilson in the Boy Scouts of America Dale Coin car fighting that red and blue machine there of Marco Andretti, and the first of the big front runners in. This is Dario Franchitti, the first of the 3 Ganassi cars.
Dario hits pit road. Lee and his car a little bit too tight on that run. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment, trying to get it to loosen up a little bit. They're going to pit earlier for all these guys trying to make it on a 2-stop strategy. Dario Franchitti leaving pit road with those primary black tires.
So the Scotsman comes in at the end of the 29th lap. We're driving lap 30 at the moment. How far can the other guys go?
I think interesting to see Franchitti pit that lap. I think that's a team strategy from Ganassi. They don't want Dixon and Franchitti pitting on the same lap, so they've separated the cars just so they don't get tangled between themselves.
Oh, look at Helio Castroneves. He has been praised this year for not being impatient and being very mature and just biding his time. However, he looks a little more aggressive here. Look at the blue, white and black car on the inside. Castroneves, the points leader on Simona Di Silvestro, and position gain.
Surprising to see Simona give him the corner like that. She's allowed at this track to drive right up the right-hand side, and we understand Hunter Ray is in pit lane.
Top 2, top 3 are all in.
3, 2, 1.
Well, this should be a lot of fun. All 3 of the top guys coming onto pit road at the same time. All of them are going to put on the primary tires for both Scott Dixon, Ryan Hunter-Ray, and Will Power. You see all of them on your screen, and we talked about how the races can be won or lost on pit road. And that's the way they come off. 1, 2, 3, just like they came onto pit road. Passing so tough here at Mid-Ohio, you got to get it done on pit road. Ryan Hunter-Ray holds serve. And Pagenaud gets right into the mix as well.
And he's on the move on the inside. Simon Pagenaud on Ryan Hunter-Reay. We said right at the top of the show, look for Wilson and Pagenaud as the dark horses in this race. Pagenaud is extremely frustrated by his season. Although he got his first IndyCar win earlier this year at Detroit, it has not gone his way. He's 5th in the championship. He said, I should be vying to win this championship. So he's on the attack.
Very strong move, but if he gets some yellow, he only has to, he might be on a similar strategy, but right now he last pit on lap 25. He's going to have to stop 2 more times to make it under green on that pace.
That's 5 laps earlier than the man he just passed as we ride with Will Power. Charlie Kimball, what a story he's been this weekend. And Ryan, were you impressed with how he came back from that violent accident yesterday?
No, it just didn't faze him at all. And so much confidence, I think, in the team to give him a backup car that he was going to be confident was going to perform at least as good as his primary.
So this is where they stand on pit stop rotation. You saw the first 2, Kimball and then Hinchcliffe, and then the 3rd place Simon Pagenaud, and then behind him Ryan Hunter-Reay.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are just praying for a caution. If the yellow comes out and it goes yellow for 5 or 6 laps, these guys can get the podium.
But the nature of this track, mate, at this race, we don't see a lot of yellow.
Well, I mean, last year we didn't, but in years past we have. I'm really just shocked to see what a flawless, run everybody's having in terms of no yellows. We saw Servia almost cause one. The other thing that's surprising, the red tires absolutely are not falling off at all. The lap times are very consistent. In fact, Charlie Kimball just went into the 106s.
And for that lack of yellow, perhaps we should praise the 2 new guys in the field, James Davison and Luca Filippi, for keeping it straight and keeping it on track. Jan?
Talking about keeping it straight and on track, you look at Charlie Kimball, their strategy is definitely clear. They need to go, go, go. Don't worry about saving fuel. Behind, you can see the blue GoDaddy colors of James Hinchcliffe. Same idea. They know that they pitted early. They're out of the window. The only way this is going to work for them today is they go as quickly as they can, and they hope that those behind will not be able to save enough fuel to close that gap. Definitely 2 strategies going. Awesome to see how this will all shake out.
There is a traffic jam at Mid-Ohio in the top 10, and it's being led by this man here, Ryan Hunter-Reay, who's in 4th place overall after just performing his first pit stop for this race on lap 30 at exactly 3rd race distance of this 90-lap event. Power is behind him. Dixon is 6th, Franchitti 7th, Wilson, Andretti and Castro Neves in the top 10. This is the race leader, Charlie Kimball, the 28-year-old from California who stood on the podium in Pocono as part of that Ganassi 1-2-3, but this is how his weekend started. Boom, like that. And that was a frightening incident before qualifying. He was able to come back in his backup car and do a tremendous job to get back out there, and this was James Hinchcliffe.
Yeah, both guys pushing really, really hard. Track was a little bit wet through the weekend on the grass, so if you get off, you have absolutely no forgiveness. Now, Kimball bounces back, leading now. We've been watching him closely. Ryan made a great point. Charlie's clicking off laps, 106s, 106.7, 106.8, 106.9. Ryan Hunter-Reay, who's on a 2-step strategy, is in the high 108s. If Charlie can build a big enough gap, look at this.
Power and Dixon, and Franchitti's got a first row seat to look at that. So Dixon may be growing impatient.
Just going to say, if Charlie Kimball could build the gap to somewhere around 24, 25 seconds, he might stay in the lead. He could win this thing.
I think it's great because nobody likes a fuel-saving race, and looks like it might pay off just to not save fuel and keep pushing hard.
James Hinchcliffe is on now stop number 2. So they're putting on sticker blacks for him. You can watch on the racetrack those that are cycling past pit. Oh, there's a bit of a delay. That was a bit long. That was around the 10-second range. That's not going to help Hinchcliffe.
And here they come. Through goes Power, Dixon, Franchitti, Wilson, Andretti, and Elio Castro Neves has tagged onto the back of this group. Where does Hinchcliffe pop back out? Behind James Jakes and in behind EJ Vizo and ahead of Tony Kanaan. So you're looking in the order. That's in 14th place, 15th place.
Oh, that looked like awful timing for a pit stop because now he's at the back of all these cars and it's going to have a lot of traffic. It's going to be hard to put in fast lap times behind all those guys.
Second stop for Tristan Vautier, having a solid run today in the Angie's List car. And this is going to be another set of the primary tires this time. No, I'm sorry, those are the red tires, the softer compound. And Vautier is back out with a pretty good stop.
Learning all the time about the Mid-Ohio sports car course, and as Kevin mentioned earlier, very scary incident this morning when his car caught on fire in race day warm-up. he hits the track for Angie's List for Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports, and we'll see that sponsor on that car for another 4 events this year, which is great news. Race leader Charlie Kimball in the Novo Nordisk car for Chip Ganassi Racing has an 8.4 second lead. He is on a different strategy to the likes of Hunter Ray Power, Dixon, Franchitti, etc. And here they are. What happened to allow Dixon to get as close to Power as he did up over the hill at turn 5 there? Or if Will had a little hiccup coming out of 4, because they've been maintaining that distance quite consistently. Castro Neves on Andretti. The championship leader clears the RC Cola car.
Heck of a move from Helio Castroneves. He is on the charge. He knows he has to push to maintain his championship lead this race, and Marco sneaking back up under him in the brake zone.
Now, Elio was one of those earlier pitters as well. He came in on lap 15.
It's going to be hard for Power, Dixon, Franchitti to maintain this patience of saving fuel. It's going to be hard because they've got all these cars behind them that are going to be pushing. And that's going to be a tough, long race for them if they stick to this plan.
Super frustrating for the guys behind that are quicker, knowing, man, I'm faster, but I just got to figure out a way to get by.
Yeah. Let's talk more about Castro Neves, Marty.
Well, he's starting to make up some positions now, Lee. They will pit in about 4 laps. All these guys who are on the 3-stop strategy pitting in this window, they have struggled all weekend long with the braking on the car for Helio Castro Neves. So they went back to the car and the setup they had on the Wednesday test here at Mid-Ohio. Helio told me it will only be a top 6 cars. He looks to make the move around Justin Wilson. He said, but if we can finish top 6 today, that'll feel like a win to me. And remember, you were talking about that championship lead, desperately trying to hold on to that championship lead.
And Marty, one of his peers, who will remain nameless, told me earlier in the weekend, the interesting thing about Castro Neves this year is he'll take a 4th, or he'll take a 3rd, or he'll take a 5th, just to keep banking those points. And that's why he is the only driver in this field as he lights them up down the hill out of turn 5 to finish 100% of the laps. How key is that?
Well, and the only man to do it this year. So it's proving to be key. He's leading the championship. He's the only car to have completed every single lap this year. So kudos to him. Definitely surprising after what we've seen the last couple of years.
You know, Lee, you and I had a chance to sit down with Elio the other night, had a great conversation, just asking about the championship mentality. And I think the one takeaway for me, this guy, after 14 years in IndyCar, has lost none of the youthful enthusiasm and the drive to win.
Here's Kanaan. Here's his dear friend and the Indy 500 champion, Tony Kanaan.
TK making his way to pit road, Lee, from the 14th starting position. This is the same strategy they used at Mid-Ohio last year, where he started 16th. He finished 5th in that race. As you see, the red tires going on, waiting on the fuel for Tony Kanaan, and he leaves pit road with his 2nd stop of the day, Jan.
And Takuma Sato is on a very similar strategy. Of course, they've been struggling all weekend to try to get the speed for Takuma Sato. They've had gearbox issues. They have, of course, he went off and crashed the car. They're trying to get everything they can. There's another big wing change. Whoa. And even now you can hear, wow, that does not sound healthy. Part of that's a rev limiter, but again, a long stop for Sato.
Hey, just 4 more laps.
Looked like Sato there dropped the clutch while the car was still in the air, had the wheels spinning.
You're doing a great job. Just 4 more laps.
That is the call to Charlie Kimball, who now boasts a 12.5-second lead over Simon Pagenaud.
And a 29-second gap over Hunter Ray. So the idea here is that he's going to be able to get in, fuel up, put tires on, and get back out in front of Hunter Ray and be back on the same strategy. He has not run the black tires yet, though.
No, that's true, but this is awesome. I just love to see someone getting the advantage by just driving fast.
EJ Viso also getting his service. Looked like a little bit of a delay there momentarily on the right rear. Now there's a problem on the left rear. Not what you want. You need your pit stops to be quick today. It's so interesting to have all these different cycles. I will tell you, for Charlie Kimball, his strategy is looking fantastic. You see Oriol Servia leaving the pits as well after his service. And guys, if Charlie Kimball, what he wants, he does not want yellow. That's the last thing he wants. If it stays green, it's playing into his hands, and it'll be awesome. He may be into the pits in a few laps here, and he may, as you've been talking about, be able to maintain the lead.
He very much exists in the shadow of his bigger, more famous, more successful teammates, Dario Franchitti and Scott Dixon. But Charlie Kimball has had a terrific season in that Novo Nordisk car for Chip Ganassi Racing. He has never won an IZOD IndyCar Series race. He's been on the podium a couple of times. This could be his day. We'll see. Here's Marco.
Marco Andretti making stop number 2. They talked about going down on the front wing, but Marco said no, it'll take too much time. So they went a little bit down on the air pressure. He really wanted to get off those reds that time. About 5 laps ago, they said you have to hang on to it. Another set of scuff reds. He's got stickers still to come.
We've been talking about how fast Charlie Kimball's been, but this could really, really hurt his strategy. He is behind Viso, and he goes into the pits.
Smart move. Kimball in. So here we go.
Hey, watch your pit speed. Keep coming, keep on coming. Got a clear pit in. 3, 2.
Talking him all the way through. Of course, the radio is delayed just slightly. They want it to be ultra clean. If there's no mistakes here, he has a good shot, and that was wonderful. 8.5 seconds, and if the pit delta is what we think it is, he should be able to maintain the lead.
Look in the background of that shot. Look in the background of that shot. Where will the train be coming from? Charlie Kimball, as he cycles back out. So Pagenaud has flashed by. There's Simon, and he is also another one on a different strategy to the likes of Hunter Ray, Power, and Dixon.
Yeah, sorry, we should say the virtual lead. Of course, because Pagenaud didn't pit, he's going to overtake the lead at the moment. Justin Wilson getting his service as well. Boy Scouts of America, again, trying to just stay solid. Wow, all over the red limit, Marty.
Jan, your championship leader on pit road. Love the car, much better on that run. No changes. Look at that track race off pit road as he beats Justin Wilson and the others off pit road.
Sebastian Bourdais was trying to force his way through, and here's Andretti up to speed. Marco and Elio have been fighting hard. Now, Marco's tucked in behind Justin Wilson there, but for how much longer? Andretti on the inside of Justin Wilson, and good driving from the Brit there, who moved aside and gave Andretti room.
Big move. That was aggressive from Marco, but luckily Justin, watching his mirrors, giving him room there.
Watch and Marco here.
Let's see what happens here now. Elio knows I'm allowed to go to the inside. Puff of smoke on Elio.
Is there drama to Castro Neves' car?
I think most certainly there is. He looked awfully slow down the back straightaway.
Has he got a mechanical issue?
That will be huge if he does.
This could be a championship turning point right here if there is a mechanical issue with that Penske Chevrolet.
Don't forget last year who was the victim of mechanical issues, Ryan Hunter-Reay, having a strong race and also having issues. Let's see what happens. Right now it seems to be back on pace.
And guys, no word from Elio Castroneves on the radio, anything about the engine at all. It appears as though he's back up to speed, guys.
Maybe it was just a rear tyre lockup on cold tyres or something, but it was definitely looked strange.
Clear by 4. Good work. This will work on him.
There's definitely a puff of smoke there, wasn't there? Dixon and Power, they maintain their battle. The Penske and Ganassi drivers hard at it, and these guys have been following each other all race long. Hunter Ray, Power, Dixon and Franchitti, that group 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th. Simona Di Silvestro's hanging in there as well. All the while, Simon Pagenaud leads this race to the tune of 18.5 seconds, but we'll see the Frenchman pit soon. We'll be back. Exciting news. For the first time ever, you can watch every match every week on TV and online when NBC Sports and the NBC Sports Network become the new home for the Barclays English Premier League. That happens August 17th. We're looking forward to that. Exciting times. And again, it's every match, every week on NBC Sports and NBCSN. The Barclays English Premier League, just a couple of weeks away. We're right on board with Scott Dixon. We're going to let you have a listen, and Ryan Briscoe is going to explain something for you. Just listen for a moment.
Yeah, you can hear by how he's saving fuel, just coasting. It's just very light on the throttle, trying not to brake at all, and just hear that rolling into the corners. I mean, and he's got to be so frustrated right now because he knows that he could be driving so much faster, and
he's got to get his fuel number. It's all about making that fuel number.
I can't imagine how frustrating that must be for drivers like you and T-Bell, Ryan. But on the radio a moment ago, Scott Dixon came on and he said, "Are you guys sure about this strategy? It's just so slow out here." And I think his teammate Dario Franchitti finally gave up on that strategy. He pitted a lap or so ago, came in and took 4 brand new tires. Sebastian Saavedra also pitting in the sequence as well.
Well, Marty, the guy that's working the gap really hard, Simon Pagenaud, is now 20, almost 21 seconds ahead of Kimball. So it's yet to be seen whether the strategy is going to work out for Hunter Ray, Power, etc. Pagenaud in now.
And Townsend, that is...
Open out, watch your speed again, just like last time.
That's Rob Edwards on the radio. Now, this is going to be key from a standpoint, as he is probably going to come out of the pits very, very close to Charlie Kimball. but the main person he's trying to beat is Ryan Hunter-Reay, who is on the alternate strategy.
Here comes Charlie Kimball.
Looks like Kimball's going to get by, but the person he needs to be sure he's ahead of is Ryan Hunter-Reay. So these two are on the same strategy. We expected that we would see Kimball go to the lead virtually. Now he's done it, but a great job by Pagenaud.
Yeah, and they're well ahead of Ryan Hunter-Reay. So nice work there from the HP team, from Schmidt Hamilton Motorsports. The new winner in the IndyCar Series, Simon Pagenaud, this year. He had more podiums at this stage in 2012 on way to winning the Sunoco Rookie of the Year, but now he has a victory. This is our race leader, Charlie Kimball. Here's Graham Rahal.
And Graham has not been happy with the handling of the car so far, but Bobby Rahal said your lap times are actually pretty much up to speed with everyone, so just hang on. He's told him you're going to have to buckle down and go after it at this point. Stop number 2, Rahal is back out.
Keep working on this. We'll go to reds on the next set.
This is where it's so tough coming out of the pits on cold tires, especially the blacks that are lower grip, is to not make a mistake into that keyhole. Cold tires coming into the heavy brake zone. Here we see Kimball coming up behind Sato.
Yeah, some lap traffic now, so could get interesting.
Wow, this is interesting. Sebastian Bourdais on James Jakes. Out of 5, down the hill into 6, up into madness. The undulating nature of this Mid-Ohio sports car course, and then they drop back down the hill into Thunder Valley. And here is Scott Dixon.
We're going to concentrate
and Diff clearly giving up on that 2-stop strategy as Scott Dixon, like his teammate Dario Franchitti, pitting with scuff red tires. He said the car is pretty good. I just need some track position. I need to be able to get up and run with these guys. The strategy was a little bit too slow for Dixon, so they make the stop. We'll see how this plays out for this young man as well.
And look what happened. He just got swept up by his teammate Dario Franchitti, who stopped earlier. So both the Ganassi guys growing tired of this conservative, fuel-safe drive. And now they can go for it.
Yeah, this is interesting, and they're just biting the bullet because they know they've lost the race by committing to that strategy early, and now they're just trying to make the most of it.
So let's see how this plays out in the long run. We are now into the second half of this 90-lap race, and both Ganassi cars will need to stop one more time. All 3 Ganassi cars will need to stop one more time. Oh, Dixon dropping an inside wheel off there. That was a little ragged from the 4-time winner here at Mid-Ohio.
You know, when you're in a hole like that as a driver, you're looking for every possible millimeter of an advantage to claw back to the front of this field, and it is a tightrope walk, especially coming out of the pits on full fuel and cold tires.
Big picture-wise, though, as far as the championship is concerned, and importantly today, Scott Dixon has been ahead of Elio Castro Neves, the championship leader, every step of the way. Here is young James Davison, his first ever IndyCar drive in the Sonny's machine for Dale Coyne Racing.
Currently running P6 now. He's still has a stop to make. He's got 2 more stops to make, but it's amazing he's hanging on for his first race here. It's physical.
Good looking helmet he's got on too.
Oh, do you know who that is by chance?
I actually lent him my helmet this weekend because he showed up and didn't have the carbon fiber spec helmet that you need to have to race in IndyCar. So he's wearing my helmet there this weekend.
And he's made up the most positions in this race, Kevin.
And it's a real dilemma for someone in his situation right now. He says, I got to go in confident. I have to be smart, though, but I also have to get noticed. I got to do something of this. James Davison had a flawless pit stop. Remember, this was his first pit stop last time around in IndyCar. He's making stop number 2. It does help that it's an easy in for him, but he has to go up that hill, so there's always a little bit of fear of stalling the car. It's harder to launch and keep the revs up going up that hill. Another good stop for James Davison. A little bit slow, but at this point, they're ready to just be conservative and keep it going.
And the one thing that he's done that's impressive, Townsend, is he hasn't done anything wrong.
He has not made a mistake,
driver may do.
Especially going green this entire time. We know he's already kind of hanging on to the wheel just by virtue of not being in driving shape. But I'm blown away. Very impressive run for Davison. Back now to our leader, Charlie Kimball. Now these guys, he has 1 more stop, we think. He's on the same strategy as the leaders now. Everybody's got to make another stop. For a guy that walloped the wall, this is such an awesome comeback.
He's been knocking on the door all year long, and I think it'd be just huge for him to get this win. Long way to go yet, but he's been driving strong, fast, and confidently all year long.
As Oriol Servia makes the move on James Davis, and let's find out more about Will Power with Marty.
Well, some good racing there, Lee, certainly no doubt about it, but Will Power right now in the 4th position, and they're debating on their radio, should they bail on the strategy? Also, they know that Scott Dixon has bailed on his strategy. Will frustrated as well. You see him riding behind Ryan Hunter-Reay. Clearly, if it goes green, guys, they aren't going to win the race. And as he told us in the pre-race show, we've got to do everything we can to win races. He told you that earlier this week as well, Diff. So I think they're in the position, do we give up on the strategy now of trying to make it on 2 stops and run as hard as we can, or do we stay out and try and make it on 2 stops?
At this stage last year, he had 3 race wins. He's frustrated is an understatement. He desperately wants to be back on the top step of the podium, and he doesn't really enjoy being in a position where he has to support his teammate to win the championship, but he's a loyal employee of Penske Racing, has been there for 3.5 years, and we'll see what he can do. I'm just thrilled that it could be Charlie Kimball's day. This guy who has worked tirelessly is enjoying life at the front. Charlie Kimball, the 28-year-old from California who was actually born in the UK because his father Gordon was heavily involved in designing Formula One and Indy cars. But America has been home for a long while. He has experience of racing overseas and here in the US. However, if he could win the Honda Indy 200 here at Mid-Ohio, it would be quite the story for the first ever licensed IndyCar driver to compete with diabetes. He was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at the age of 22. Completely by surprise. He was a healthy, fit young man. He went to for a regular doctor's checkup. It was diagnosed, and he did not let that deter him to reach his goals of racing and perhaps winning in IndyCar.
And of course, this has come down mostly to strategy and some great driving by Charlie Kimball. You've made the strategy, Tom Wirtz, on the radio, making that call. It looks like it was the right call. You went the opposite direction of the other 2 team cars.
Right, I mean, you know, overall, when you have 3 team cars, you know, you can do that. And we knew it was going to be, you know, it's a strategy race. So we wanted to make sure we kind of do something different, you know, and mix it up. So, you know, it's just one of those things.
What a shout out to you and to Charlie, driving a car that was a backup car, and it performed miraculously. That's not an easy job for you guys.
No, it isn't, but I'll tell you, the guys did a great job. You know, the car's running great. Charlie's doing an excellent job, and, you know, we're just trying to, you know, get a top 3 finish here.
Well, I think they might get more than that. Again, Tom Wirtz and company are hoping right now no yellow. With no yellow, they're looking good.
Yeah, his engineer Brad Goldberg and he have a very strong relationship. They work extremely well, and that team has had to work overtime after this horrendous crash earlier in the weekend. Just watch this. Watch how violent it is.
Yeah, big one. And I think he just got caught out by a drying track. It had rained overnight, and that was practice session. And I think he said he just hit a patch of water under the bridge there into turn 1, and it just caught him by surprise.
And let's not forget that last year, Charlie Kimball didn't even race here.
Yeah,
he
crazy.
broke his wrist, like you, in testing at Mid-Ohio, and had to sit and stand by and watch Giorgio Pantano drive this orange and blue Novo Nordisk car.
Redemption.
So 34 laps to go here at Mid-Ohio, and at the moment it's all Charlie Kimball. It's been a spirited run too from Simon Pagenaud. Will his strategy work for him? And the Schmidt-Hamilton team, the HP car, running in second. Hunter-Reay is third. Power and Hinchcliffe, your top 5. Here's Marco Andretti, who runs 6th. Let's get an update on him.
Kyle Moyer does the strategy for the 25 car. Looks like you guys might be in pretty good shape with the original decision to go with 3 stops.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, it's just that first stint hurt us a bit with speed and everything. Now we need to be where we're at, so we'll see what happens. I mean, Charlie's up there doing a hell of a job, you know, up front, running those times, but, you know, you never know. I said the 2 stoppers have abandoned. Ryan and Will have abandoned now, so now everybody's on a 3.
That's Kyle Moyer. He's calling strategy for Marco Andretti. Still can be a player in this race.
And the one thing you may notice about watching the IZOD IndyCar Series, there is good camaraderie in this paddock. Somebody from a rival team, a strategist like Kyle Moyer, says that a Ganassi driver, Charlie Kimball, is doing a heck of a job. Nobody would be more pleased than, everybody in this paddock would be so pleased to see Charlie Kimball get victory if he can do it in 33 laps time.
You're absolutely right. In this paddock, and I think in any paddock around the world in racing, everybody can respect a guy who has worked so hard, so methodically, to not only create the opportunity to be in the car, but then to refine his craft 1 foot in front of the other. And we've talked about it all year long. the relationship between Charlie and his engineer Brad Goldberg. These guys just remain focused and don't get too ahead of themselves, and this could be the celebration today.
This is a very talented Frenchman, Simon Pagenaud, last year's Sunoco Rookie of the Year. He only has one podium, and that was the top step of the podium. That was a win at the second race at Detroit. He's running strong here. Let's check in with his team.
Yes, and Rob Edwards is on the radio, and the strategy, you're on a similar strategy to Kimball, pitted a little bit later, but because you have pitted later, can you possibly reel Kimball in?
We'll see. I mean, Charlie's doing a great job. You know, we're both running the same lap times. I think it'll come down to the last pit stop and obviously what strategy we choose for the last set of tires.
But is there something to be said, because you stop later, you'll know the lay of the land. Can you then maybe do something to close the gap?
Yeah, I mean, we have a couple of options, so we'll see. But yeah, certainly we have an advantage by watching what they do.
What are the options?
Sticker blacks or scuff reds.
All right. Thank you, Rob.
I thought it was interesting before Kyle Moyer saying that even Hunter Ray and Power have abandoned the two-stop strategy. So
I don't know that Hunter Ray has abandoned the two-stop strategy. I guess Will Power has either. I think.
I do not think that's correct, folks, because they're going to pit in about 2 laps for both Will Power and Ryan Hunter Ray. That would put them 30 laps to the end. They basically have divided this race into 3 30-lap runs. That's what they will have done, pitting in 2 laps.
So here we are. That's the way it plays. You can see Pagenaud since the last pit stop, and 41-47 for our top 2 guys.
Now, we heard Rob Edwards say that they were both running about the same lap times, but this is what's going to make a huge difference is lap traffic. Interesting, we've got a Sam Schmidt team car and Tristan Vautier up ahead of Charlie Kimball. How hard does he make it for Kimball to get around? We saw Pagenaud trying to come up on Ed Carpenter. How successful can he be? Every single corner where you're losing time, it adds up quickly, Ryan, around this mid-Ohio track.
Yeah, it's true, and you know, you're allowed to sort of fight to stay on the lead lap. You don't have to pull over and let the leader by, but you need to be respectful at the same time.
Quick reminder about Honda's fastest seat in sports sweepstakes. Simply go to shophonda.com to sign up, and you can enter now for your chance to lead the start of one of these IZOD IndyCar Series races in the IZOD 2-seater, as we saw earlier today. And you can either sit behind Ari Leyendijk or Mario Andretti. What a thrill that would be. The Shop Honda sweepstakes.
Now this is what's so hard. Tristan Vautier is running around the mid 108s, low 108s right now. Charlie Kimball's been running high 107s. One of the things that frustrates drivers in this series is you don't have to be right up underneath the car to get slowed up. You start to lose that downforce 5-6 car lengths back. It's difficult for the officials to really know when someone's getting held up.
A good point, especially on a track like this where Hunter Ray in the pits.
Time. Make sure you hit your mark.
Well, both of the guys will pit here. Ryan Hunter Ray and Will Power from 3rd and 4th, respectively. Ryan Hunter Ray has to go around Will Power's guys. It'll be sticker red tires for Ryan Hunter Ray. He said the chassis didn't feel quite right on the end of that run. A little slow in the left rear there, waiting on the fuel for Ryan Hunter Ray. They cannot get it engaged. Will Power will pass Ryan Hunter Ray here on pit road. Ryan Hunter Ray loses his spot.
I believe that Ryan Hunter Ray pulled into his box, had to go around Power's guys and stop too far from the pit wall. That made the fuel hose too short to get all the way in.
Oh, so costly.
Something as simple as that, after grinding away for a third of the race, for 2/3 of the race. Let's relive it and watch.
Now, if you look on the ground at the inside left front tire changer, there's a piece of tape somewhere around here, and he's nowhere near it. You can see the gap there between his left front and his mark.
And guys, they told Ryan Hunter Ray, when you come to pit road, the one thing you can't be too wide. Exactly what he was, as T-Bell was telling you. He missed the mark, and he said, Will Power's guys were laid out so far, I didn't want to get a penalty for hitting them.
So Hunter Ray now, the fight begins to try and play catch-up. Advantage Will Power, but it's advantage Charlie Kimball, who leads the way.
The cycle continues on pit stops, and again, we have seen that James Hinchcliffe was the very first of the day, so therefore he'll be the first for the 3rd stop. And shortly, we'll see some of the players. Charlie Kimball is expected to be on pit road shortly, and that's going to be a stop to watch.
Hinchcliffe cycles back out in front. Can he keep it going to stay ahead of Hunter Ray? No, Hunter Ray sweeps around the outside, his Andretti Autosport teammate. All right, let's take you back and show you something before the break that has really hurt Ryan Hunter Ray big time. Let's take you back. We're going to show you the slow-mo. Townsend, talk us through.
Yeah, I just think that Hunter Ray got too wide when he finally came to a stop. If we can roll the camera a little bit farther forward, what happens here is that where Hunter Ray's left side wants to be about on that line, you can see the distance that he is from, in just a second here, we'll keep it rolling. You'll see the distance that he actually sits from his mark once the left front tire changer comes away. That distance, that space right in there is almost 18 inches. That is far too much for the fuel hose to reach without getting basically stretched all the way to its limit. I didn't see anything about Will Power's right front to lead me believe that they were trying to make it difficult on him, but Ryan, you made a point about the size of these pit boxes.
Yeah, they're the shortest pit boxes in the whole championship. It looks like Ryan just didn't hit his marks right. You know, it's difficult, but just, you know, coming in around Power's guys, and he just didn't hit his marks.
This is Tony Kanaan in the Sunoco Turbo entry.
1. Let's hold your brakes, reset your fuel.
And you hear the radio to Tony Kanaan hitting pit road right now. Car's actually been pretty good, but he said at the end of that run, those red tires absolutely were gone. Last time for the day for TK. Jan?
And Charlie Kimball makes his way onto pit road. This doesn't need to be perfect. They just need to not make a mistake. He should cycle in. Of course, Simon Pagenaud is going to take the lead for now because of this pit stop. That was a nice clean 8.3 stop. They talk him out, and again, they're talking about lap traffic, which has already been a bit of a problem for Kimball.
He had to be patient to get past Graham Rahal in the Midas car a little while ago. Tony Kanaan's got dramas. He's got problems on the back straight. Looks like he feels there may be a wheel loose or something. He was just...
My wheel's loose.
There we go.
Uh-oh.
Bring it back in, or... Oh, I can't.
Tony Kanaan's day is done. This is what happened in Toronto in race 2 as well. Marco Andretti in the RC Kohler Andretti Autosport machine has stopped for the final time in this race as well. This is the new man.
Revs up. Watch your dash.
Luca Filippi. And Kanaan's just staying right out of the way. And
place, we're going to leave it there.
That's a very, you can hear race control saying we're going to leave it there. I think that was race control. That's a veteran move right there.
Cause a caution.
I mean, that's really cool. I mean, how many times do we see a guy parking in a place to cause a yellow? And that's the sign of a guy that, you know, knows his stuff, is a professional, and gets out of the way.
Two teammates going at it here, Andretti and Hinchcliffe. Hinch wins this battle down into turn 4. Meanwhile, you just saw a quick shot of the blue, black and white HP car of Simon Pagenaud, who leads this race. What we're going to be watching with much interest is when will he make his final stop? How quick will that final stop be? And can he come out and challenge Charlie Kimball? How quick will these laps be by Pagenaud? Here's the championship leader.
Elio making progress on that run, Lee. It'll be primary sticker tires going off for Elio Castroneves on this run. Scott Dixon pulls in right in front of him. Elio did very well on that last run. He made sure with Roger Penske, I can run as hard as I want now. He said, yes, you see Dixon on pit road going out with the red primary, or the red tires, a little bit softer compound, and you see Justin Wilson leaving pit road as well.
Red tires now, we gotta go.
We've got to go. We've got to go, all right, because there's only 24 laps to run in this race.
This has got to be so frustrating for Dixon. I mean, he's just, you know, him and Power and these guys, they've been so fast all weekend, and the strategy just hasn't worked out.
One of the things I was watching, guys, was that 4-second gap between Pagenaud and Kimball before Kimball pitted was closing. So it was about 1 second when Kimball peeled into the pits. So Pagenaud needs to make good time right now, and with a good stop, it'll be very close when he comes out.
This is going to be a great race. I think it's going to be so close between those two.
This man here has been hurt, and here is the radio transmission from that last pit stop. Listen.
Pit, pit, pit. Hey, you got to come around Will's, guys, but make sure you hit your marks. You were a little wide that last time. Make sure you hit your marks. 3, 2, 1. You were too far out. The fuel guy couldn't reach. Did we get it all in? Yes, we think we did. Just go. Damn it, man. He laid out there so far. I just didn't want to get a penalty for hitting him.
Interesting, he made reference to Penske's tires in laid out there that far. I didn't want to get a penalty by hitting them.
I talk so much about the tightrope that you have to walk in this series, and that's a great example. You know, you're in a championship battle. You don't want that penalty for hitting a tire, but then, man, you get it wrong, you can't get the fuel in the car.
Yeah, it's hard. It didn't look to me as though the front right tire of the Penske car was laid out too far. I think it's just a tight pit box, difficult to get on your marks.
Guys, we may have had a fairly steady race thus far with no cautions, but we are set for a thrilling end between Simon Pagenaud and Charlie Kimball. It's going to be tight between these guys. It's going to be a fascinating race between this man here, Charlie Kimball, who has never won a race, and Simon Pagenaud, who is a first-time race winner this year. Pagenaud still has to stop one last time. Kimball is good to go to the end.
And if there's one driver on the track that I think is going to be very difficult to get around, it's probably EJ Vizo. His teammates are running up front. Oh, Simona in the pits.
Been a solid run for Simona today. She's been consistently in the top 10. No real errors. And just been chipping away at it.
I wonder if Kimball got Vizo though.
Oh boy, it looked like Vizo was going to let him by, and man, if I'm Kimball, I am on the radio, and if I am that Ganassi team, I am running down pit lane saying, what are you doing? Help us, please.
This could be for the race win, right?
And you know what? Could be it. Last lap round, Ryan, the margin was 22 seconds between Pagenaud and Kimball. Pit lane delta based on an 8-second stop is 24 seconds. This is massively swinging.
Push to pass.
Massively swinging in the favor of Simon Pagenaud.
And Charlie, it sounds like he's having to use up his push to passes now, which is going to leave him with less if he's racing Pagenaud at the end of the race.
Franchitti in for the final time.
4, 3,
Dario pitched from 3rd, the final stop of the day for Dario Franchitti. The car's been pretty good. It's been a little too much understeer for Dario. They'll put on the red scuffed tires for Dario Franchitti. They just told Will Power on the radio, by the way. Tim Cindric said, go as hard as you can for the rest of this race. This is going to get interesting, guys.
Out of turn 5, the downhill chute. So undulating, this track. Television doesn't do it justice. Around the back section, up into madness. This is Charlie Kimball, who has the potential to win this race. He's trying to get past EJ Vizo. This is not for position, and that's what's frustrating Charlie Kimball.
Oh, big time. I mean, and especially when they know that with Pagenaud still having to pit, and I think they're within 1 second of Pagenaud coming out in front or behind of Charlie at the moment.
They are.
Being held up by a lap car, it is the most frustrating thing in the world, and Charlie only has one push to pass left.
And Charlie has lost about 0.7 of a second per lap behind Vizo, so he has got to get by.
So say, for instance, Simon Pagenaud and the Schmidt-Hamilton team do not get him in and out quick enough to beat Charlie Kimball out. It doesn't matter if he comes out behind him within a second. Simon Pagenaud still has 5 push to passes left in this race.
Yeah, and race control should be trying to pull over Vizo here. This is just this is awful.
When you look at the difference in the picture here and you see Charlie Kimball trying everything he can to get by Vizo, obviously Simon Pagenaud and his team know what's happening. In fact, they had set out the tires for a pit stop and they changed their mind. They got through traffic and they knew that Charlie Kimball was stuck. So they stayed out, they had him stand on it. Next lap, we should see Simon Pagenaud on pit lane. They know they have a chance to take the lead.
Oh, look at this angry little bunch here. Castro Neves, Hinchcliffe, Andretti, Dixon. They're growing impatient. Here's Pagenaud's crew laying out for the final stop for Simon.
Look at Marco Andretti to the outside of his teammate. It is Hinch and Marco side by side, close quarters. Whoa. It looked like Hinch had to get up on the apex curb to avoid contact. And look at Dixon to the outside.
He's got Dixon on the inside of James Hinchcliffe. Does he get the position? They go wheel to wheel, the 3-time winners this season.
Whoa.
There's 6 race wins between these two guys.
What a pass by Scott Dixon going to the outside of turn 5. Not a pass we normally see stick very often.
Yeah, and finally Hinchcliffe just had to give it up, but that was some good racing there.
Every position counts because Dixon needs to finish ahead of Castro Neves to reduce that points margin. He's 29 behind in the chase, and look at this, points as they run now. Elio's lead would grow, despite not being on the podium, would grow to 33 points with 5 races left when this one's done.
Now Simon Pagenaud's guys laid out as we saw. Our stats expert, Jan Beekus, told us 24 seconds is the bogey time, and that is the gap.
4, 3, 2,
Stop. So that is the gap that he is shooting for, so they need a no to all that. You need to be a bit faster on that right rear, but they get that done. Wow, nice stop! 7.6 seconds. The delta should be just about right. Look for Charlie Kimball coming. They should, oh, he smoked him out of pit lane.
This is it for the lead of the race. Simon Pagenaud up the hill. It's the drag race to the keyhole in turn 2. Vizo, oh, Kimball runs by. safe. He knows that the pressure's on right now as they go up to turn 2.
Now Simon
gets in front of Pagenaud.
Pagenaud has cold tires here. Charlie on hot tires. This is the exit Pagenaud needs to hold on.
This is for the win of the race with 18 laps to go. These two guys have been working hard.
And Kimball's on the button. He's used his last push to pass. He thinks this is my only chance. Let's see what happens.
Inside move down into 4. Kimball gets in.
Outside. Clear.
Nice work from Charlie Kimball. However, Simon Pagenaud still has push to passes up his sleeve, and Vizo still remains in front of Charlie Kimball, annoying him.
Simon might have 3 buttons left, but you've got to be close to take advantage of it. That was an awesome pass by Charlie Kimball. That could be the move of the race.
That shows how determined he is to win his first IZOD IndyCar Series race.
Yeah, and now we'll see. You know, Pagenaud, he's still getting up to speed with these cold tyres, but his tyres are going to be a little bit newer, so he's going to have to lay down some fast laps now and try to take advantage of these push to passes he has.
Have a look at this. Watch for the orange car. 3rd in shot. This is the pass for position, for the lead, and maybe the win.
Yeah, and it looked like Pagenaud at the last second was thinking about making a block, but you're not allowed to make a reactive move, and it's kind of surprised he didn't defend earlier on down the straight.
Nice work from Charlie Kimball. If this is going to be his day, what a day. He has earned it. Kimball leads with 17 to go. What started out as a fairly steady race, this final third of this 14th round of the IZOD IndyCar Series at Mid-Ohio is spectacular. There are battles right throughout the field and implications everywhere, not only for potential first-time winners, but for the championship. Like here, the blue, black and white car is Helio Castroneves, the points leader. That's Marco Andretti. The red car is Scott Dixon, who, as they run, is now 33 points behind Helio Castroneves. He doesn't necessarily want to get the blue and red car. He wants to get Castroneves and reduce that points gap. There's race leader Charlie Kimball. 15 to go. Can the 28-year-old hang on? He's the 3rd driver in Chip Ganassi's squad, and it would make 4 race wins for that stable. Look at how wild he was here, knowing how hard he had to push to get Simon Pagenaud.
We can see how much he was pushing at the exit of 1. What I love about Charlie's situation here is he's not going to win this thing on pure strategy. He's saying, I'm going to win this because I was the fastest, most aggressive guy. And you can see here on the back straightaway, if we pause there, when Pagenaud's looking in his mirrors, he can't really tell if Kimball is going to pop to the inside or outside. And Kimball did a great job to fake where he might go so as to keep Pagenaud uncertain at the moment of decision.
Coming up on the Sonny's Dale coin machine of James Davison, who runs in 16th position at the moment. He's trying to stay on the lead lap. You can see in the background there that Kimball finally cleared E.J. Vizo. And this intense fight continues. Dario Franchitti is 3rd, Will Power is 4th, Ryan Hunter-Reay is 5th, and then we join this group here, headed by Castroneves, then Andretti, then Dixon, Justin Wilson, and Hinchcliffe. There's been some contact, there's been some brushing, nothing too savage, but take a look at this. You ride with Scott Dixon, 2nd in the championship. This is Mr. Mid-Ohio. Watch this. Oh, just tagged Marco. That's like, get out of my way, I want to go and get Helio.
front wings are a little stronger this year, so got away with that one.
Marty?
And guys, as you can imagine, Scott Dixon a little frustrated back there. He's also frustrated with the strategy. He said, guys, we should have stayed out. In essence, saying my fault, because he was the one, remember, who bailed from that 2-stop strategy. He said, you know what, let's go and stop earlier. He just told the guys we should have stayed out this time around and just gone with the 2-stop strategy today.
On board with Dixon on the left-hand side there. Gives you a great view onto the front straight here. That's where the race is finished. Obviously, that's not where the race starts. And how will this one finish? Is it going to be Charlie Kimball's day? His dad, Gordon, who has some remarkable stories in motorsport, Formula One and IndyCar, is watching from home in California. Hang in there, Gordon. Your boy is doing a great job.
And Ryan, we talked about coasting and saving fuel, but there is nothing about saving fuel now with Dixon's telemetry.
Not anymore. It's all about trying to make up spots and drive as hard as you can.
Look at him getting defensive. Wilson up the inside. Scott's allowed to do that, but you leave the door open for Wilson to run the outside on you. These guys are doing a great crisscross battle.
And Wilson's been looking strong all race long. He's been making some good moves, and he's certainly putting the pressure on Scott now.
Turning our attention to the race leader, Charlie Kimball. He has responded to that challenge from Simon Pagenaud. He now boasts a 4.5-second lead over the Frenchman with the laps counting down. Approaching the final 10 laps of the Honda Indy 200 here live on NBCSN, your home of open wheel racing. What a day. Started out pretty steady. I was looking at Townsend Bell and Ryan Briscoe here in the booth, and they're like, well, when's something going to happen? Well, this last final third of the race has been fantastic. And Charlie Kimball has a 4.6-second lead. It's the 5th time this year that Kimball has led a race in that Novo Nordisk Chip Ganassi racing car. And he is well in control inside the final 10 laps. Here he is. He started the racing year with the best possible way by winning the Rolex 24 at Daytona with Juan Pablo Montoya, Memo Rojas, and Scott Pruitt. He's got that Rolex wristwatch, and now he's within 10 laps of having his first ever career IndyCar Series win. There's his girlfriend, Kathleen. She'll be feeling a little nervy. She knows what a roller coaster ride at motorsport is, the emotions.
You know, Lee, the other night we sat in on what's called the Team USA Scholarship Program, a bunch of up-and-coming drivers identified by Jeremy Shaw and team for kind of the future greatness for American road racing. And Charlie Kimball, a winner of that award. So neat to see that being realized today, running at the front.
And for those young Chargers who see Charlie sitting there. Jeremy Shaw, we should say, has done a wonderful job with that. Recipients, winners of Jeremy Shaw Scholarship USA have been the likes of Brian Herder, team owner, Jimmy Vassar, team owner, Andy Lally, Joseph Newgard, and Joey Hand, who finished 7th in the DTM race in Moscow today. Jeremy's done such an amazing job for young American drivers, and Charlie has been part of that program, and he's there helping the next generation of stars. So they got to meet Charlie Kimball a couple of nights ago. I wonder if they realized they shook the hand of potentially an IndyCar race winner.
8 laps to go.
And these are going to be some of the longest 8 laps he's ever driven. So going for his first win. And he knows he's got the control of this race. He's just hoping something outside of his hands isn't going to happen. The last thing he wants is a yellow.
You're listening to the voice of our special guest, Ryan Briscoe, the 2008 winner of the Mid-Ohio round of the IndyCar Series. How tough is it when you're counting him down and you're saying, I'm almost there? Where is that checkered flag?
He just wants it to end. He just wants the checkered flag right now. He's got a good car. He's in control. And that's the thing. He just wants this thing to end as quick as possible. What a great job he's done today.
Went on a different strategy to everybody else. Decided not to play the fuel game and worked his way into position. It was very clever stuff, wasn't it, from the team, Jan?
It was very clever because when you have a 3-car team, you heard Tom Wirtz talk about it, they decided they didn't want everyone on the same strategy. So they pitted Charlie Kimball early, and the radio communication was, for this strategy to work, you have to stand on it, and he did that. He delivered. The only way it worked is if he was going full chat while everyone else was saving fuel. Now, the extra 5 laps of the race meant that many people thought you could just really save a lot of fuel, make it in 2 stops. You could, but you had to slow down. Charlie Kimball didn't slow down, and that put him with no yellows in this position.
And 67.9, Pagenaud 67.9 plus 5.5. Got around.
5.5 is the gap between first and second, Kimball and Pagenaud. And as we mentioned, Charlie didn't race here last year because of injury. He has only had 1 race finish here, and that was 11th. So don't worry about the top 10 or podium. I'll just go straight to the top step of the podium.
I love it, and you've seen this coming for a while now. I remember 2 years ago at the Indy 500 following Charlie on the final stint of the race and just being thoroughly impressed with how confident and composed he was for a guy without a lot of experience. And this is really just an incredible celebration of all that work.
And while there's plenty of space up front, it's still pretty intense between Castro, Neves, Andretti, and Dixon. Championship contenders. We'll tell you about that when we come back and go to the end.
5 laps to go, 5 laps to go.
You heard the call there, 5 laps to go at Mid-Ohio in the Honda Indy 200. Charlie Kimball is your race leader. Simon Pagenaud is second, and Dario Franchitti is third. Will Power, then the yellow machine there of Ryan Hunter-Reay. But this is where the fight is on. The top 2 in the championship here, 5, 6, and 7 in the race, but it's all about the championship picture. This is going to get intense, and Justin Wilson has pushed to passes up his sleeve. He's not worried about the championship. He wants to get as high as he possibly can. He's not worrying about spoiling Dixon's day or Castro Neves.
And Castro Neves just burned a push to pass, which surprises me because the gap wasn't very close with Dixon coming off of the keyhole in turn 2. So now Castro Neves 1 left. Dixon has 2 push to passes left.
If you haven't been following the championship this year, this car here, the blue, black and white one, the PPG machine from Penske, Castro Neves leads the championship by 31 points as they run now over the target car of Scott Dixon. Dixon needs to leapfrog him to reduce that margin.
This is a fun battle to watch, isn't it, Diff? And I tell you what, at the beginning of the day, if you'd have told Helio Castroneves you'd finish top 6, he definitely would have taken it. In fact, he told me his goal was to finish in the top 6 today, but he had no idea he would finish ahead of Scott Dixon. The one thing he told John Erickson and Roger Penske before the race, I don't want any updates about where Dixon is, where Ryan Hunter-Reay is. I think he can look forward and he can look backwards and see where his championship rivals are.
There's a magic relationship between Roger Penske and Helio Castroneves. It's his 14th year with the organization, and he has a good, strong bond with John Erickson, who calls the shots when Roger's not there. But when Roger's here, he really lifts his game and performs. Fair comment, Ryan? You drove for the captain for many years.
Oh, definitely. And, you know, Helio, he definitely knows where Dixon is now. There's no doubt about it. But Ericsson, he's been on the team a long time, used to call the races on the sports cars, and this year's moved over to Helio's car, and it seems like a great relationship. And Helio, this is what he's done best this year. He's just been finishing races. He's completed every lap this year, the only car to do that. And, you know, if you can't win, he finishes second, and if he can't do that, he does as well as he can. And a 6th place today is good points. You know, he's in front of Dixon.
Yeah, but I promise you, he's looking in his mirror and he's looking at a big red car, and he's also looking at maybe those red sidewalls that he might be able to see, knowing that he's the only car in the top 14 on the black tires right now. And so far today, that doesn't seem the way you want to finish this race.
No, it's going to be a tough final 3 laps here, and Dixon needs to get past him. He wants to.
Well, 3 laps to go. Dixon is burning a push to pass now, so he's going to see, can I get him at the end of the straightaway? Let's see if he's got a run. It looks like it.
Here we go. Watch the red car. Dixon pops out. He's not close enough, though, to get Castro Neves. 2 laps to go.
So now Scott has burned 1, and they are 1-1. So Helio can defend, but it's really tough to know when the other guy uses his.
Well, there are 2 laps to go, so I don't think Dixon really wants to make a big mistake here. He'll take the points, but
1 lap to go.
This guy's showing it all the way today.
1.5 laps to go for Charlie Kimball, who has never won an IZOD IndyCar Series race. This could be a magical day. Also for his team owner, Chip Ganassi, it'd be the 5th consecutive Mid-Ohio victory for the team. Remarkable.
Man, that is music to any driver's ears. You've got a 5-6 second gap over 2nd place. You've earned it. You've raced your way to the front. You're at one of the greatest racetracks in the world, and you've got smooth air in front of you.
He's feeling good right now.
He's going to get the white flag here. 1 more lap to go for Charlie Kimball.
White flag.
And there's the gap back to Simon Pagenaud, who's constructed a very good race himself and his team. He's on the podium. If he can hang in there for 1 more lap. There's the blue car there, the HP Schmidt Hamilton Motorsports car. But this is going to be a lap that Charlie Kimball will remember forever. We've had 3 first-time winners this year in the championship. James Hinchcliffe, Takuma Sato, and Simon Pagenaud. And in half a lap's time, we're going to add a 4th to that.
Listen to the crowd. That is awesome. There's a great turnout here at Mid-Ohio today. You can clearly tell they're loving this first-time winner.
It's been a super weekend with Firestone Indy Lights, Pro Mazda, USF 2000. We've had Pirelli World Challenge. There's been no shortage of racing. There's been no shortage of fans. The weather has worked on our side, and the sun is shining on Charlie Kimball. It's his 45th career IndyCar Series start. Charlie Kimball, you're an IndyCar race winner. Kimball wins at Mid-Ohio. A family steeped in motorsport now has an IndyCar race winner in it.
Awesome job.
Chip Ganassi, Tom Wirtz, Brad Goldberg, they are celebrating right now for their man Charlie Kimball. In the same year he wins the Rolex 24 at Daytona, he gets his first IndyCar Series win. And the entire paddock will be delighted for him. Meanwhile, things take even a more serious stance here with Dixon and Castro Neves. These are the two title contenders.
They are, and they both burned every push to pass left in the system, and I'm afraid for Dixon, Castro Neves is going to be right in front of him at the finish line and extend that championship lead.
Elio squeaks out another couple of points on Scott Dixon to extend his championship lead, but the day belongs to Charlie Kimball. Kevin.
Well, there are tears down here of joy in the 83 pit. We said before the race, Ganassis have won this 8 times, but don't forget about Charlie Kimball. Kathleen Thompson, you've been with Charlie for so long. He has waited so long to get this. Now he's broken through. What do you think this means to him?
Well, I know one of his goals this year was to win the race, to win a race, and I'm just so happy and proud that it came here after he broke his hand and wasn't able to race here last year, so I'm just so happy for him.
As with every young driver, any young professional, people doubt you along the way. People, I'm sure, doubted Charlie. Now he's proven something, hasn't he?
Definitely.
Congratulations, enjoy. Headed to victory lane. That's Charlie's girlfriend, Kathleen Thompson. Marty?
Well, let's grab Chip Ganassi, and you were so excited, Chip, that you actually fell off the wall trying to get there.
I was so excited. I was going to run across and throw my hat across the start-finish line.
Here's your action. Oh, that was not good, Chip.
That was not good. That was not good, man. I'll tell you, I'll take it. I don't care, man. The kid won his first race. That's huge.
How big is this for your young man, and how proud are you of him right now?
Really big, and I'm really proud of him. I mean, he crashed yesterday morning in practice, and the team came back, did a great job. That kid's an unbelievable kid, what he did.
I see the emotion from you. What does this say about the future of Ganassi?
Well, I mean, we're okay.
We're okay. I think you're a little better than okay. We'll let him go celebrate. Clearly, tears coming from underneath those sunglasses. He's going to go celebrate with his young driver right now.
Think about what that man's team has done in the past few weeks. They got a 1-2-3 at Pocono. Scott Dixon swept the entire weekend at Toronto, and Charlie Kimball wins at Mid-Ohio.
Great job, guys.
And you know how good that must feel for Charlie to get that hug from Chip. You know, that must feel so good.
Those don't come easily.
No, they don't.
And for Chip Ganassi to say what a job this kid did. And he won by 5.5 seconds. Charlie Kimball is now an IndyCar race winner. He flies the flag for diabetes. He's the only licensed IndyCar racer, the first IndyCar racer to have diabetes. He's a proud ambassador for the cause and for the cure, and to say that it's not going to stand in your way to stop you from doing what you want to do in life. And this is massive for he and for Novo Nordisk and for Chip Ganassi Racing and the championship. Our fourth different first-time winner is Charlie Kimball.
We're going to let Charlie Kimball get all these photographs. This is a photograph that he is going to remember for a long time, and the emotions, getting the high five from Chip Ganassi. Come on down here. And you know, not only your first career win, but in a style that your team called you on the radio and said, for this to work, you have to go for it. What a way to get it done.
Yeah, it was pretty fantastic. You know, I can't give enough credit to the guys at Chip Ganassi Racing, not just the Novo Nordisk crew, but the Target guys yesterday to give me a car in qualifying to start in the top 5 after I rode off the primary in turn 1 yesterday morning. So a lot of credit to the Novo Nordisk guys in the pit lane. I mean, they said you got to hit this target, and all I had to do was drive the Novolog Flex Pen car to that number. I mean, she was quick. That's all I had to do.
Now tell me about the team meeting. I assume that the 3 drivers, you sat around with the engineers and said, okay, what strategy do we try today? You had the 2 red cars go one way, you went the other. And here he is. Here is Scott Dixon, who made a choice to go the other direction on the strategy. Whose call was that?
You know, at the end of the day, it was all of ours. Before the race, the 9 and 10 are in a different position in the championship. They're a little further up, and we had to do everything we could to help Scott up front. And on our side, we split strategies to hedge our bets as a team. That way, you know, maybe we could get a win here for Chip one way or another. But 3 stops, they made the call, and all I had to do was drop the hammer.
Now, strategy, one thing, but Simon Pagenaud did something similar. He actually came out ahead of you, but he had cold tires. What about that move to actually just slide by and retake the lead?
Well, I knew that we had the grip, and you know, I had hot tires, as you said, and maybe a little less fuel in the tank, so I knew that if I could get the run, as soon as I saw he was coming out of pit lane, I went to the overtake, knowing if I could get some momentum going, I could go by him. You know, he tried to brake check me or just go late to the throttle, I think, in the little middle of 2, and you know, the Honda power just got me close enough to him. I could put it up the inside and take the spot. Then I just had to run clean home.
Now, I know we have a very interested viewer at home in California. Your dad normally accompanies you to most races. Wasn't in Pocono, wasn't here. How much would you like to have him here right now?
It'd be really special. Both my parents. I know my sister Rachel is in California watching with my mom and dad, and you know, it's a great result for them as well because they've been behind me the whole way along. You know, all the way since go-karts, they've been making sacrifices for me. So to get here and have a win in the IZOD IndyCar Series definitely starts to pay them back for that.
Well, you're going to love the tape when you replay this one because there's some great moves. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Incredible performance from Charlie Kimball. He's finished 19th in the championship the last 2 years. He'll find himself in the top 10 when we show you the points a little bit later. What a story he's got to tell for the weekend that started in a rather unsatisfactory manner for Charlie Kimball. Look at this. A wet track caught him out at turn 1. He smashed up his primary car, had to go to the reserve, put it in the Firestone Fast 6, raced hard all weekend, and in this one he came out, he knew his biggest challenger was Simon Pagenaud, and that just underscored how hard he was pushing for the win, coming around, and then he was in Pagenaud's draft, a decisive move, and he never looked back. Charlie Kimball, our most recent race winner. So much more from Mid-Ohio, more interviews coming up. It's a day that Charlie Kimball from Chip Ganassi Racing will remember forever. His first ever IZOD IndyCar Series race win, and he joins a growing list now of first-time winners in 2013. James Hinchcliffe added to St. Pete at Iowa and in Brazil. Sato won Long Beach, memorable scenes there. Pagenaud in that doubleheader at Detroit in the second race, and now here in the Honda Indy 200 at Mid-Ohio, Charlie Kimball. He was chased down by Simon Pagenaud, another first-time winner, and he's with Marty.
Well, I'm sure the one Simon Pagenaud will be playing back was the pit stop after lap 73. You came out, you were on cold tires, but tell me about that pass that Kimball made on you.
Well, you know, I got to say, Charlie did a fantastic job, and him and Ganassi had a little bit more today. I mean, I gave him hell, but well, man, that was a bold move, and I didn't think he would make it, but he did. I mean, it was a great move from him. I can only congratulate him because honestly, I gave him hell today. It was 100%.
A run like this, what does it do for your race team, especially heading to a track at Sonoma where you're very good?
Yeah, it's good. You know, we've had our first win in Detroit. Now we're second again here on the road course, so we're showing some strength. I'm very happy. I think it's great for the championship today. We've been here all year long, but it's good to be on the podium again and just show that we're here, and it's good for Honda. You know, 1, 2, 3 is amazing at home.
A nice second place finish for Simon Pagenaud today.
With our 4th and 5th place finishers, Will Power 4th, Ryan Hunter-Reay 5th. Ryan remains 3rd in the championship. Both of you guys, same strategy, 2 stops, no cautions.
Yeah, you know, we were like kind of the responsible, disciplined ones, getting out there, saving fuel early, trying to make up some ground that way so that we can go hard later. But we never got the yellow that we needed, and we stuck to the 2-stop. Didn't work at all. Everybody that went hard and had fun racing all day ended up at the front, and yeah, we were just running around saving fuel all day. It wasn't too fun in the car, but these guys have paid off a lot on strategy for me. I can't complain about it. I mean, we just picked the wrong one today.
Well, hindsight's 20/20, but going in, wouldn't you have to assume there's going to be a little bit of caution somewhere?
Well, actually, of late, no, because I mean, especially around here with you know, so much runoff. But yeah, I mean, we were kind of going to do what Ryan did. If he went, we go, and if he saved fuel, we try to save fuel. But yeah, I mean, man, it's disappointing starting at the front, and it's not fun racing, lifting all the time, saving fuel. But still happy for the Rising guys, the best finish we've had in a while, and go get them next time.
Solid runs for both of these guys. Will Power 4th, Ryan Hunter-Reay 5th, still very much remains in the championship chase.
And Kevin, no doubt there'll be some head scratching from some of those established drivers like that, but one thing will be universal, and that is joy for Charlie Kimball. A lot of people proud and pleased for him to win for the first time. If you're Charlie Kimball, it's all about celebration. First ever IZOD IndyCar Series race win, and he's been getting congratulations from everybody. As he's acknowledging the crowd, Graham Rahal, his teammate last year at Ganassi, says well done. Well done. Awesome performance. Graham Rahal knows what it's like to win an IndyCar Series race, and his 4-time championship winning and 3-time Indy 500 winning teammate Dario Franchitti says, well done, mate. Well done. That was an outstanding victory. And Marty spoke with Dario while we're away in the break.
Dario Franchitti was the first of the guys planning to do 2 stops to bail on that. Was that because you were the first one to break away how you got this podium?
I believe it was, yeah. I mean, I think, Charlie and the target cars were always going to split strategy. That's what we discussed today in the meeting, and he did that. He drove a beautiful race too, so congratulations to Charlie Murphy, man. That was a beautifully driven race there. But we, by even doing it 2 laps maybe earlier than Scott, that got us the podium. Another couple of 3 laps later, we might have been outside the top 10. It was that close. So brave move by the target boys there. G car was fast, so we'll take the podium and just keep trying to push and see if we can get that first win.
3 podiums in the last 4 races for you. Are things feeling genuinely different with the race team right now?
Look, we had the pace, like we've discussed, Iowa we didn't have the pace, Indy we didn't have the pace, Milwaukee so-so, but generally we've had the pace, we just haven't executed, all of us. And we've started executing, and just take the smallest little thing there to get us, I think, back in victory circle. So, the target team is pretty happy, and obviously, Charlie too, just a great job again by him today.
No doubt, they're executing right now. A win and a 3rd for Ganassi today.
Well, you talk about executing. Of course, we talked before the show about executing, rolling the dice. You said that Roger Penske was the master of strategy. He chose the right one today.
Yeah, not only that, Roger's awesome, but John and Jonathan did a great job, even with Ron and the whole team. We're really focused in small details. Unfortunately, qualifying, we took a little bit of gamble. It did not pay off, and I said, you know what, let's start all over again. And today, when we show how strong we were, unfortunately, I feel like we won the race because 6th place from 15 or 14, it was an awesome. So I want to thank all the guys, V-Power, Hitachi, PPG, SKF, Verizon. They did supporting us, and hopefully we'll keep pushing so that we can continue open little by little, open this championship in a big gap.
I heard you telling a few other people that came up to interview you about the significance of what happened with Charlie Kimball and what he was able to pull off today. Your take?
Yes, people don't understand that this is a very competitive series, and the way he came and everything, he's proving himself. He has 2 teammates that they are champion, and the guy to win a race like that, Charlie, hell of a job, man. Great job, and you keep it up, and thank God. I don't want you to keep doing that so well. Right now, maybe yes. You gotta be your teammates because it will be good for me. But great job, Ganassi, and but Team Penske also bouncing back.
And of course, speaking of that, he maintains that championship point lead. If you look at the way that it breaks down, he actually gets a little more of an advantage now. 31 points over Scott Dixon. This is, of course, post-race. This is shaken out nicely. Very nice for Elio Castroneves. Scott Dixon's certainly in the hunt. But boy, to take points at Mid-Ohio for Castroneves, that's awesome.
It's a Honda clean sweep of the podium for the Honda Indy 200. How appropriate, and considering Honda's involvement here in the state of Ohio with manufacturing vehicles. They were the first Japanese company to establish an auto manufacturing operation here in the US, and it was here in the state of Ohio in Marysville, just down the road. So it's a big day for Honda, and it's a massive day for Charlie Kimball. Let's hear from another man who had a strong run, also powered by Honda. It's Justin Wilson.
Justin Wilson finishes 8th here today. That was the big dilemma, everyone. 2 or 3 stops. You ultimately did 3. Did you think about 2 for a little bit?
For a while there, we were just trying to do what the leaders were doing, but that first stop they went 4 or 5 laps longer, which not quite sure how that works out when we all got the same size fuel tank, but we're saving fuel like they were, but it just didn't work for us. We weren't quite good enough today. We got to come back and keep working on it, and I think we're doing the right thing, so hopefully we can get the Boy Scouts of America car on the podium pretty soon.
He had a new teammate, as you've had many times. Pretty good job by James today, bringing it home.
Yeah, he did a great job all weekend, just finding his feet, getting used to the car, getting faster every session, so did a nice job. I think it's good for the team. Everyone at Delco Racing's been working hard, and I think we've got pretty good cars, so it's now just trying to get that next little bit, that next little step, and that's what it's all about. But today we just got stuck in the middle on the strategy, and stuck in no man's land, so we lost a few places.
All right, good run today, though. 8th for Justin Wilson. He remains 9th in the championship.
And Kevin, he got not only his best qualifying performance here at Mid-Ohio, but that was with that 8th place finish. It was his best career finish here at Mid-Ohio. So a positive weekend for Justin Wilson, who remains in the top 10 in the championship. Jan?
Marco Andretti, of course, had a very tough go early on those black sidewall Firestones. Everyone around you, you seemed like you were a bit of a sitting duck and you're just hanging on for life. How tough was that?
Yeah, I just think, the RC Cola car just didn't have the pace for the three-stopper today. I think, other than that, we did everything right. The three-stopper seemed to be the way to go, but there's really no excuse except we didn't have the pace because Pagano was on the podium and we were running right with him, so just not our day.
What sort of things, when you have teammates and you have one car that's doing well, we know that James Hinchcliffe also had some big issues, you try to run the same setup, but it doesn't necessarily translate between the cars.
Yeah, we're not necessarily running the same setup either.
And is that one of those things where you start the weekend same and you start to go one direction or the other?
Yeah, I mean, you're always throwing stuff at it. Ryan did a great job in qualifying, and man, Charlie drove a heck of a race. I'm happy to see that. It's good for him.
And he had a strategy where he just was go, go, go from the beginning, but on a different tire cycle. Would you wish you would start on reds now, looking back?
Yeah, I mean, obviously because of how much ground we lost, but like I said, we didn't have the pace even on reds, so, it was just a long day. It wasn't our day.
Well, he kept it in one piece and brought it home 9th. Thank you.
And Marco Andretti, one of quite a long list of drivers yet to win this year, joining Will Power, Justin Wilson, our Ryan Briscoe, Ed Carpenter, drivers who know what it's like to win. We'll see. More from Mid-Ohio right after this. And the Ganassi boys have just drenched engineer Brad Goldberg as his first IndyCar Series win as well, at the helm of the number 83 Novo Nordisk car, driven by Charlie Kimball. That was good. Good teamwork from Dario Franchitti and Charlie Kimball, and the rest of the team scattered, and Brad took the full brunt. They'll be celebrating tonight. The Ganassi boys are a great bunch, and they thoroughly deserve that with the orange car, as it's quite often referred to. The two red cars and the orange car. Charlie, victorious today in his 45th career IndyCar Series start. Pagano on the podium, Franchitti, and it's a Honda clean sweep. 1, 2, 3. What must Power, Hunter Ray, those guys be thinking?
I mean, I just think that they're wondering, what do I have to do? We executed for what I could do in the race car, but the strategy clearly didn't work out, and time is running out for them to work their way up in the points.
Look a little further down the order here. Simona just missed out on a top 10. Bourdais fought hard all day. Jake Servia, and one of the new guys, James Davison. That was his goal, to finish in the top 15, and he achieved it.
Yeah, great job, him and Luca Filippi, both rookies here, and both finished on the lead lap. So solid day for both of those guys.
It was a race that ran for 90 laps, and for the second consecutive year, no caution whatsoever. It was green all the way, and the only retirement in the race was Tony Kanaan. He had a loose rear wheel, as was reported on the radio, and he parked it on the infield. No caution flew because of that smart driving from Tony Kanaan. Let's hear from James Hinchcliffe. He's with Marty.
Well, every pit sequence, James Hinchcliffe would be the first guy to pit, and then he'd have to run around trying to catch everybody else. That make it a frustrating day for you?
I mean, it makes it fun. I definitely like doing the three-stopper better than the two-stopper, but, we with where we started, and it was my mistake in qualifying that put us back there, we knew we had to be the first guy to do something on the three-stopper, so we went for that early stop, and it was looking like it was going to work out well, and if I had managed to just get Elio on his outlap there on that last stint, that would have made the race look a whole lot different for us, but ultimately, we were a bit off from some of these guys, there's no doubt, and if we had gotten ahead of them, we might have been able to stay ahead of them, but we weren't great in traffic, so, huge effort from the GoDaddy guys, really good in the pits all day. We had one little bobble on one stop, but other than that, it was fun. I mean, it's fun coming to Mid-Ohio here and running around flat out, but yeah, just with where we were at the start of that stint, it would have been nice to finish, 5th or 6th instead of 10th.
Well, but considering where you started the day, you still gain a point in the championship standings. I mean, it's a pretty good day, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, with the season we've had, I mean, like I said, anytime you get a top 10 in this series, it's good. I mean, and you look at the guys in front of us, right in front of us, guys like Scott Dixon and Justin Wilson and Marco Andretti. So it's not like we're slumming it. It's just that competitive right now. So we missed it by the smallest amount today in terms of whether it was a little bit quicker on one stint or one stop or whatever to get in front of Elio there. But, whole team did a great job all weekend. Big congrats to Charlie. That's awesome. I know he must be thrilled. I know what that feels like. So congrats to him. And we'll take this and move on to the next one, man. I'm feeling good. Team's, I think, working well, and we just got to put our heads down and keep fighting.
My eyes have been bugging me all day. You got to hook me up with a nice pair of green glasses, dude.
This is where it's at right there. This is gifts from friends at Exact Target to sponsor.
We need to get a pair of those for Diffie, don't we?
We do. Diffie would look great in a pair of these, man.
We'll hook him up.
All right, sounds good.
We'll start with a pair of the James Hinchcliffe socks that you can now buy online. I might start there before the green glasses. Championship point scenario, boys, and there's some interesting change here. Not necessarily at the top of the order, but a little further down because Will Power gets bounced out. Tony Kanaan drops from 7th to 10th, and look who rockets into a tie for 7th place.
There's nothing like a win for the points, and it also helps that a few of the guys that were close dropped down, like Tony Kanaan.
Time running out. 5 races left in the 2013 IZOD IndyCar Series season. This time last year, Ryan, your old teammate at Penske Racing, Will Power, was vying for the championship. He now sits 11th.
Yeah, and, you know, he did nothing wrong today. Had a solid race. He beat the guy he was racing, Hunter Ray. It's just the strategy didn't work out for him, and he's got to be thinking, what do I have to do to catch a break? I mean, it's been over a year since his last win, and he's going to be back on top very soon, I can guarantee it.
So that's how it stands in the championship. Elio Castro Neves extending his points advantage over Scott Dixon. There's a little bit of a break in the IZOD IndyCar Series because we've got a couple of weekends off before we head west. And the next one we really look forward to is the Grand Prix of Sonoma. That's coming up August 25. So the month of August is all about permanent road courses. What are your thoughts on today and the future, Townsend Bell?
Well, I've raced at Houston, so I'm looking at that, and I remember how hard it was for the guys at Detroit to do a back-to-back doubleheader. And then, of course, Toronto. Houston is no easy track. It gets hot down there, so that should be a tough one. And then right in my backyard, Auto Club Speedway down in Los Angeles, it should be awesome to finish the season there.
And Ryan, the big news for you is that your broken wrist is now well healed, and it continues to get stronger and stronger. We'll see you back in the Panther No. 4 National Guard car at Sonoma, won't we?
Yeah, that's right. We'll be testing in a bit over a week in Sonoma. So I'm looking forward to it. You know, I won that race last year, so it'll be a perfect race to come back to, and hopefully we can carry some of the momentum gained from Toronto a couple of weeks ago.
All right, real quick, TB, wrap it up in a nutshell. Thoughts on today?
I just am so proud for this California kid, Charlie Kimball. Again, worked his tail off to work into a position, and just awesome to see him at the top of the podium today. What a finish.
Ryan, I'm sure you can remember vividly your first IndyCar Series win. What does this mean? What does this do for Charlie Kimball?
I think just the confidence. He's had it this year, but one of the most memorable moments will be when Chip Ganassi leant down into the car, gave him that hug, and that's just a moment, making your boss proud, and a boss like Chip Ganassi, that doesn't come easy. So what a great day. He deserves it. Job well done.
Well, mate, job well done to you too. Townsend, myself, and the rest of the boys have enjoyed having you. Ryan Briscoe as part of the NBC SN team. And another reminder, in 3 weeks' time, IndyCar returns to NBC SN for the Grand Prix of Sonoma. That's Sunday, August 25. We've got our own little summer break coming up, and that's at 4 o'clock Eastern. For all the IZOD IndyCar Series news, head to NBCSports.com. From all of us here, we want to congratulate Charlie Kimball. He's a great guy, he's a terrific driver, and finally got what he deserved. And we want to thank you too for watching the IZOD IndyCar Series on your home of open wheel racing.